Coming up on American Sunrise Early Edition, U.S. and Israeli forces back in action overnight. A new wave of strikes targeting Iranian sites, both nations now backing the operation as the conflict enters its fifth day. The president signaling the campaign is far from over. We have the very latest on the military operation coming up. Plus, Americans trying to get out of the region at war, U.S. embassies across the Middle East on lockdown. Some travelers making it out overnight, others still stranded. As flights disappear and airspace tightens, the State Department working to secure military and charter flights. But for many Americans right now, the way out is still unclear. We've got the very latest on the evacuation efforts. That's coming up. And on Capitol Hill, a Senate vote expected today on the war with Iran. Lawmakers weighing whether to limit the president's authority to continue military action. The administration arguing the strikes were necessary. Some Democrats questioning justification. Republicans largely rallying behind the operation. The debate now, how far this war goes and who decides. We'll have the very latest from Washington as American Sunrise Early Edition starts. You got it right now.
Welcome to American Sunrise Early Edition. The show where faith, freedom, and the values that built this nation take center stage.
You people and others like you built this country.
Join us as we break down the stories that matter.
FAFO. If you don't know, now you know.
American Sunrise Early Edition on Real America's Voice starts now.
All right, good morning. Welcome to American Sunrise Early Edition. We have a packed show today. We're glad you're joining us. I am Brian Glenn. Before we go any further, let's get you ready for the day. Here's how you can start your morning with us. Take a look at the bottom of your screen right now. That is a QR code. That is your direct line to Weather Nation. You can scan it and get connected. And during the 9 a.m. hour of American Sunrise, we may feature your hometown forecast. So head to a Real America's Voice chat on Getter, Rumble, or YouTube, and you could be next. All right, up now, let's get a quick check of Nationals forecast. Joining us now is Adrian Hernandez. Good morning, Adrian. Well, I've got a feeling we're going to be talking about the same thing we did yesterday. A lot of warmer air moving across this country, sparking some thunderstorms. Do I have that right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're already starting meteorological spring, Brian. We started on March 1st, and, now we already are seeing several severe weather outlooks, not just today, not just tomorrow, but well into the end of the work week, where, Brian, I do believe that the worst of it will likely be headed towards Friday. So to kind of break everything down, it's going to be one system moving eastward. That'll give us severe weather chances, at least for today and tomorrow, and then a much larger one making its way through Friday. You see a large line of storms from the Great Lakes all the way down through Oklahoma and down towards Arkansas as well. It's going to be a large line of storms potentially getting severe on us as well. Going into Saturday and Sunday, we'll still get heavy rain down in places like Texas. So the severe weather outlook will be a slight risk, at least for today. So it's a level 2 out of 5 risk for portions of Arkansas out towards Oklahoma, Dallas included in this, and southern Missouri as well in this outlook. Thursday, a lot of these storms will be sparked by the dry line going into portions of northern Texas and in western Oklahoma, western Kansas as well is where that slight risk is going to situate itself. But then Friday, again, is the much larger risk. We'll have an enhanced risk. So it's level 3 out of 5 risk for severe weather in this darker shaded orange outlook here in eastern Kansas. Portions of OKC, Tulsa also included in this outlook. So again, if you are in this area, the SPC's verbiage they use is large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes could be expected in this outlook. And the worst of it is a lot of the timing of these storms will go into the overnight hours. So Brian, now is a great time more than ever to start getting those severe weather plans in place. A severe weather plan, like I was mentioning, a severe weather kit in place. And of course, tuning into Weather Nation, we're going to keep you guys updated all throughout the next few days because we're going to be watching these storm systems like a hawk.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adrian. Of course, we'll see you back on American Sunrise. Thank you.
You got it.
All right, now to our top story. The war with Iran just entered its deadlier phase. Overnight, U.S. forces with Israeli forces and regional allies launching A major military operation with B-2 and B-1 bombers striking Iranians' missile facilities, naval forces delivering a heavy firepower, and U.S. Central Command saying the objective is clear: destroy Iran's missile threat and break the IRGC's command structure. Now let's listen to CENTCOM's commander, Epic Fury. Take a listen.
By order of the President of the United States and the Secretary of War, our military in the Middle East is undertaking an unprecedented operation to eliminate Iran's ability to threaten Americans, as they've been doing for nearly half a century. Having spent more than 36 years in the military, I could not be prouder of America's sons and daughters in uniform who are answering the call. More than 50,000 troops, 200 fighters, 2 aircraft carriers, and bombers from the United States are participating in this operation, and more capability is on the way. These forces bring a massive amount of firepower, representing the largest buildup by the U.S. in the Middle East in a generation. In the opening hours of Operation Epic Fury, U.S. Central Command forces, together with Israel, delivered overwhelming and unprecedented strikes into Iran. Many of you may remember the shock and awe strikes of 2003. The first 24 hours of this operation were nearly double the scale, and we continue with 24/7 strikes into Iran from seabed to space and cyberspace. Now, we're less than 100 hours into this operation, and we've already struck nearly 2,000 targets with more than 2,000 munitions. We have severely degraded Iran's air defenses and destroyed hundreds of Iran's ballistic missiles, launchers, and drones. And in simple terms, we're focused on shooting all the things that can shoot at us. Our B-2 bombers and B-1 bombers have executed uncontested surgical strikes against multiple missile facilities deep inside Iran. And then just last night, a B-52 bomber force struck ballistic missile and command and control posts. We are also sinking the Iranian Navy, the entire Navy. Thus far, we've destroyed 17 Iranian ships, including the most operational.
All right, joining us now is Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, a 22-year combat veteran who led troops in Desert Storm in the Iraqi War. Colonel, we're seeing stealth bombers, naval strikes, and coordination with allies from a military standpoint. What phase of the campaign are we watching right now?
Well, I think without a doubt you are in a shaping operations, maybe not the decisive operations yet, but with what I see happening is that there are centers of gravity that we're going after, the C3I, command and control communications infrastructure. We want to decapitate the head. We want them to not be able to coordinate any type of military operations and definitely response. As the Admiral said, they're going after the ability and capability of Iran to be able to shoot back at them. And we see that with the ballistic missiles and the drones. And that really is the means by which Iran sought to hold people, the region hostage so that they could make their march toward a nuclear capability capacity. And that is something else that we definitely don't want to see happen. So I would tell you right now that 100 hours into this operation has been very successful. The fact that we have complete air dominance over Iran, that is very beneficial because we can go and attack these ballistic missile sites. We can attack the ballistic missile launchers with impunity, and that is key. And also the fact that we are eliminating their naval threat means that we're going to work very hard to open up the Straits of Hormuz, so we don't see any constraints or restraints on the open flow of shipping, and especially the oil shipping there in that region. So right now you have to be very impressed with what has happened.
Yeah, and of course, Iran has spread the conflict a little bit over some of those other Gulf nations. I guess, in a way, trying to be as disruptive as possible, perhaps, make this escalation a little bit longer on a timeline. What's your thoughts on their attacking Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states? Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a very foolish move, and that shows once again that when you decapitate their centralized command and control, you have maybe some rogue actors out there doing these type of things, because now you are bringing the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, the GCC countries, against Iran. And of course, we already know about the Sunni Shia split, but of course now you see a very logical split to the point where even they're talking about offering up military support by way of aircraft to go in and attack Iran. So Iran is a pariah. Iran is a scourge on humanity. And I think that an important thing that we need to see from a geopolitical perspective is that we're peeling back another onion on this 21st century axis of evil. I mean, we've done that with Venezuela. And remember, there were, very close relations between Venezuela and Iran for quite some time, going back to Hugo Chavez and Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. So now this is affecting Russia because Russia gets militarized drones from Iran, and that's what they've been using in the Ukraine war. And then also you see China, which gets about 80% of their energy shipments from Iran. They're going to see that drying up as well. So this has a greater geopolitical effect, and not just that we are toppling the #1 state sponsor of Islamic terrorism, which means that Hamas, Hezbollah, and other those groups, Islamic Jihad, they're going to dry up as well.
Colonel, let's bring our attention a little closer to home in Texas. Big primary night last night, obviously. U.S. Senate seat there in Texas up for grabs. Your thoughts on now we have a runoff between John Cornyn and Ken Paxton?
Yeah, we always knew that there would be a runoff between those two. I was kind of surprised that it was Senator Cornyn who had the upper hand in the runoff. But still, when you look at the 13 to 15% that Wesley Hunt was able to garner, now the question is, where does that 13 to 15% go? And maybe what you have seen is that Senator Cornyn kind of tapped out with the amount of support that he will be able to have going into a runoff. And I think that, again, we saw that in the Attorney General's race with State Senator Mays Middleton and Representative Chip Roy. So those would be two pretty preeminent runoff races that we'll have.
Yeah, now it's been since, if I'm not mistaken, statewide, 1994 since a Democrat has won a statewide race. You've got Jasmine Crockett, and of course she was her district was kind of reconfigured, and so she didn't run for Congress. She said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and throw my hat in for Senate. Didn't work out like she thought.
No, it absolutely didn't. And, I'm here in Dallas County where she is based out of. And I really think that she was hoping to get a strong turnout right here in her base of Dallas County. Jasmine Crockett and even James Tallarico, the state representative, they're not going to play very well out in West Texas, East Texas, or even down along the border where Donald Trump a couple of years ago won 13 of 15 of those border counties, as you well know, Brian. So I don't think that those individuals, and definitely Jasmine Crockett, her political career seems to be over. I guess you can go over to some of these leftist news networks and get a show. But I don't think James Tallarico is going to play well. His whole woke Jesus, perspective, that is very sickening to many people.
Yeah, I don't think that played well. Colonel West, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom, and always thank you for your service. We look forward to seeing you again. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Brian, and God bless and have a great day. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, coming up, markets set to open as investors watch new developments overnight. Then, the latest out of Washington, from the White House to Capitol Hill, more American Sunrise Early Edition straight ahead. Stick around.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shopped. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate today.
exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history.
Welcome back, America's Sunrise, a live look at Dallas, Texas. Very familiar with Dallas. Worked there at one point in my career. Good city, great people, decent sports teams. That's debatable. Welcome back, Brian Glenn here. Good to have you with us this morning. We're tracking the White House, the markets, and the latest in the Middle East. Join the conversation on Getter, YouTube, Rumble. Right now, let's check in with the Wall Street as we head towards the opening bell. Markets close lower as investors react to the ongoing war in Iran. The Dow Jones closing at 48,501, down 403. The NASDAQ finishing at 22,516. That's down 232 points. Both indexes recovering somewhat after a much steeper losses earlier in the day. Turning attention to oil, moving higher as U.S. crude closing at $74 a barrel. That's up nearly 5% on the day. Global benchmark Brent finishing above $81, also more than 4%. Prices spiking earlier as tensions in the Middle East disrupt shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. That is your check on the opening bell in about an hour or so. All right, back with this morning, Michael Wilkerson, founder of Stonewall Advisors. Michael, the war is escalating, and how are the markets reacting on this Wednesday morning as we head to the opening bell? You've got two things, the reality in the markets and the reality on the streets in the real world. Let's start with the financial markets. How would they react today?
It's been interesting, Brian, to watch. I think one of the things that's changing is the market is beginning to contemplate, what if this isn't over quickly? What happens then? So the first day on Monday, bonds were relatively unmoved. We've seen over the last 2 days, bond prices start to fall, meaning yields are rising, which is typically not a great sign for the long-term views of the economy. As you mentioned, oil continues to rise. It's been up about 15%, as high as 50% from last Friday. And interestingly, overnight, it's important to watch what happens around the world. The South Korean market, which is very heavily dependent on flows from the Middle East, is off significantly, and big companies like Hyundai affected by that rely on auto production, rely on oil and other imports. So we are seeing, I think, continued nervousness in the financial markets, continued uncertainty that's likely to persist as we go forward here.
Okay, so now let's lean into, I guess, the real world effects of all of this. We were mentioning offline that gas, I noticed yesterday in several locations, was up about 50 cents in the area. That's a significant jump within just a few days of this conflict. But what do you see the effects on the street from the consumer standpoint?
One of the things that we notice and talk about is that gas prices are likely to rise in anticipation of price increases. So they tend to move up faster than they move down when prices are going the other way. And it was quite startling to see over the past 24 hours in some locations, gas prices going up by 50 cents at retail from a relatively low base of, call it, $2.50 or so, 20% jump over time. That's meaningful. And if the viewer were to take anything away, I think it's important to remember that war is always inflationary. Wartime pressures cause prices to rise as production moves from consumer goods to military uses, defense applications, as resources are redirected, as munitions need to get replaced. And eventually this finds its way to the pocketbook. So unfortunately, despite in other accounts some deflationary pressures or at least a stabilizing of inflation, this is a force, a factor that is likely to push prices back the other direction, and we may see inflation start to rise again.
Michael, do you see this having any effect on consumer confidence as far as people going out and purchasing big ticket items like a house, like a car, things like that? Do they tend to be a little bit more conservative, waiting to see what happens after all of this? What's your thoughts on that?
Brian, I think it's totally normal human psychology under times of uncertainty to wait and pause. What's interesting is that we've been in this extended period of time when people have been very hesitant to make big purchases already. If you've looked at what we've endured in the last few years with rising inflation, but in particular diminishing purchasing power from the working and middle classes, we've already been in a condition where big purchase decisions are being pushed off, where homes are not being bought, autos are being run for longer and longer. We've been in a difficult period. I think it's fair to say this doesn't help.
Yeah, you're a wealth of knowledge, Michael. How can someone follow you? Website, best resources to get the most information that you have?
I suggest stormwall.com on the web and on X at MW_Stormwall to see what I'm writing and talking about on a daily basis.
I'm sure you have a lot to talk about as well. What's going on? Michael, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you. All right, now think about this. In 2006, $20,000 equated roughly 33 ounces of gold at spot prices. Now, at today's prices, those 33 ounces would be worth more than $165,000. Now, smart Americans right now diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals, and that's why you need to consider buying gold from my friends over at the Birch Gold Group. Now, for thousands of years, gold has always been a store of wealth, and today it's a crucial part of any balanced strategy. Even better, Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered retirement account back in gold. Just text America to 989898 to receive your free information kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. And with an A+ rating for the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, let the Birch Gold Group help you diversify with gold. Now, that's a peace of mind. So text America to 989898. That's again, there's information on your screen. Text America to 989898. Do it today. Coming up, we got more developments in the war with Iran, plus the latest on Americans trying to get out of the region. More American Sunrise Early Edition continues after the break.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
All right, welcome back, American Sunrise. My next guest is very familiar with your live shot right now. Brian Glenn with you on this very busy Wednesday morning. And we want you to be a part of the conversation. Join us over on Getter, YouTube, and Rumble. Go right now. All right, the war in Iran is escalating rapidly. A massive U.S.-led military operation is now underway with Israel and regional allies. At the same time, U.S. Embassy in Kuwait was targeted by drones, and the State Department helping remaining Americans get across more than a dozen countries. Joining us now is former Assistant Secretary of State Bobby Charles. Bobby, you've helped oversee security operations in Iraq and Afghanistan during some very volatile years after 9/11. What are you seeing unfold at this hour, and is the communication is it effective right now to make sure that we're protected here for any kind of escalation that may involve in our homeland? But let's go ahead and start with the very latest at this hour.
You know, to be honest, Brian, that's a very insightful comparison because the threat level rose dramatically. I was a naval intelligence officer after 9/11, as well as later being an assistant secretary of state who helped to train the police over there. But the bottom line is we're in a risky moment right now. Very important that information flow go up and down easily. And what that really means, and it's ironic, I mean, I'm running for governor in the state of Maine. We have Maine has declared itself in the last year a sanctuary state, blocking information flow between the local law enforcement, state law enforcement community, and the federal. This is the exact moment when you want intelligence to flow up from the locals as rapidly as possible into the feds so they can support us, and the other way around. The federal law enforcement community has access to databases and information. We want that to flow down to state police and down to locals so that you can protect the people of every state. And this is, it's reckless from the get-go not to allow intense coordination between state, local, and federal, particularly in a moment when the homeland is under fire.
Now, Bobby, having set up security operations around the world, what's your fear that sleeper cells are here in America? I know we talked about the border in previous segments. Is this a realistic threat to America? We saw what happened in Texas last week.
Yeah.
Can that happen here?
Yeah. No, you're right again. I mean, very important. Sleeper cells really do exist. You know, the Biden administration, we know for a fact during 21 to their end of their operation, they actually ended up letting in the range of 100 people that we know are on the terrorist watch list. So those from the very get-go become a threat. But I think we've also got, sleeper cells are a real thing. They keep their heads down and they train and they are ready to take orders from abroad. This is a very chaotic situation inside Iran right now, so whether or not they're able to give that kind of an order. But the other thing is you have lone wolves out there. And again, this goes to information coordination. A sanctuary state like Maine is endangering its people not to allow a tight coordination between federal, state, and local law enforcement. And I'll also add that beyond the need to do it now, we have precedent. Some of the right at the border, some of the 9/11 traffickers came down through Canada, through Maine, before they hijacked planes in 9/11. So I will just tell you right now, a governor should be doubly watchful, should be pushing out coordination orders, should be encouraging state and local law enforcement to work closely with the federal government, because this is the moment when it really matters.
You know what's interesting? I heard a conversation yesterday about immigration and how the need to assimilate some of the people coming here. Now, someone can come in this country legally through legal immigration, check out all the boxes, check off all the boxes, follow the instructions. But then you find out they had no willingness at all to assimilate to the United States. Matter of fact, they may hate this country. Now, the guy from Senegal, he did it all legal, naturalized, married here in the States. didn't seem to be radicalized at all. Then all of a sudden, he shoots up at a bar at 2 a.m. in Austin. So should we go further to make sure that when people want to come into this country the legal way, we assimilate them, or we make sure that they will pledge their allegiance to this country and they will be a productive citizen?
Yeah, Brian, you're hitting at a very, very important point for people here in the state of Maine, not to mention places like Minnesota, California, all over the country. You cannot literally keep this country safe without assimilation. We have 9 visas that allow you to get into this country legally, and that individual did. But the assimilation process really means understanding and appreciating the magic, the glory, the miracle that is the United States, the Bill of Rights, what it means to protect yourself, what it means to be able to interact with other people in a way that makes you part of the American dream. And if you're not coming here with the American dream at your heart, you really need to rethink that. And we need to rethink these blocks of people that come in 2, 3, 4, 5,000 at a time. It's very difficult to assimilate people in that kind of a process. Historically, what we've done is brought people in small numbers, with the exception really of post-World War II, and those were already Western-loving people. So the ideals of America need to be embraced by those who come here and want to be here either as permanent residents or as naturalized citizens.
Yeah, the example I heard was a group were brought into Missouri. They learned English, they learned the civics, they did everything right. And then often some groups are just released into a city like Minneapolis, and they're just like, okay, go have fun. Real quick, we've got 2 minutes left. I want to turn our attention to your state of Maine, and give me some of the biggest priorities right now of the people in Maine. What are they concerned about, and what are you going to deliver to them as potentially the next mayor or the next governor? Excuse me.
Well, the bottom line is I am up by double digits. There have been 3 polls out already. Our internal tracking have me up on the GOP field by 20 points. The most recent public one has us up by 16 points. Look, Mainers there are 3 things I would say right off the top they care about, maybe 4 or 5 total. Affordability is a big issue. I am going to cut the taxes dramatically in this state. I'm going to help roll back the property taxes, give seniors an exemption because that's vital, get the income tax down. That is issue number 1. Issue number 2 is public safety. Right now, we are in a situation where we have thousands of fatal and non-fatal overdoses every year. We're not like other states of our same demography. We need to get the drug traffickers out of here, and that also means get the illegal aliens out of here. We have about 8,000 draining our money, taking money from average working taxpayers. And the third big thing I'll say is fraud, even though we also need to rebuild our schools and rebuild our infrastructure. If we can get the fraud out of the state, get our energy costs down, get our economy back in working order, create a virtuous cycle instead of a vicious cycle, the state of Maine will be a model for how you turn a state from blue to red, get costs down, get public safety up, protect our children, and ultimately get the fraud out of this state. This state, Brian, has been racked by fraud. The Democrats control the governorship, both chambers, constitutional officers, Supreme Court. I will reverse all of that. And I was a federal investigator on top of other things. So it's time for real change in Maine.
Best website for people to go check out, Bobby.
Absolutely. Go to bobbyformaine.com, and every dollar and every prayer counts. bobbyformaine.com. Again, you can give up to $2,000, but at the end of the day, this is about us, the people, taking back the rights that we were given at our founding and deserve to have now.
Bobby, as always, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, coming up, top stories making the headlines this morning from our Denver newsroom. Plus, new movement in Washington, the very latest from the White House and Capitol Hill. More America's Sunrise continues after the break.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead, scan the QR code now. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a real voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered. Welcome to American Sunrise Early Edition, the show where faith, freedom, and the values that built this nation take center stage.
Welcome back to American Sunrise Early Edition. I am Brian Glenn. Thanks for joining us on this very busy morning. As always, we're following developments across the country and around the world. Join us on Getter, YouTube, and Rumble. Let's head over to the Denver newsroom for the latest headlines with my friend and your friend, Terrance Bates. Good morning, Terrance.
Hey, Brian, good morning. So look, I want to start right in your backyard. The midterm elections officially underway after Tuesday's primaries in Texas. That would be your backyard, Brian. North Carolina, as well as Arkansas. President Trump celebrating at least 35 Trump-endorsed candidates who won their primaries and are advancing to November's general election. He posted a slew of congratulations on Truth Social, as you see as we kind of scroll up and down his Truth Social page. However, 47 did not endorse any candidate in Texas's closely watched Republican Senate primary between incumbent John Cornyn, former State Attorney General Ken Paxton, and Congressman Wesley Hunt. That race, Brian, headed to a runoff between Cornyn and Paxton. There were some clear victories, however, for President Trump and Trump-endorsed candidates, including Michael Whatley in North Carolina. The former head of the Republican National Committee is running for Senate in that state. Sitting Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders of Arkansas was unopposed on Tuesday, and Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who sailed through his primary, both of them now have a chance to keep their jobs with the help of a Trump endorsement. Brian, what do you think the results on Tuesday said, or at least kind of forecast for the midterms in November?
You know, well, if you look at the overall turnout, though, and this is what was surprising, Democrats turned out big in this primary, to a surprisingly large amount, and that might be a referendum on President Trump. Maybe they're just absolutely, it's a stop Trump agenda. And what surprised me on the Republican side is that Paxton led in a lot of early polls, and even some of the latest polls going into Tuesday's election, but I didn't see the turnout for him that I thought he would have. That's why I think, I mean, I knew it would probably go to a runoff, but I thought he would do a little better. Wesley Hunt, surprisingly, with 14% that might have pulled a little bit of the momentum away from Paxton. I'm assuming that if he was not in the race, those voters would have turned to more of the MAGA candidate, which is obviously Ken Paxton. Now, Jasmine Crockett, you could say goodbye to Jasmine. They did a redistricting in her congressional seat, decided she didn't want to run for that. went over to choose at the last minute to run for Senate. That didn't work out. But now, Terrance, she's blaming Republicans for that loss. Republicans.
Of course, yeah. It was an interesting night to watch all of the results come back in. Unfortunately, President Trump not going to have a whole lot of time to celebrate his primary endorsement victories as the war with Iran is continuing to spread. The State Department is feverishly working to bring Americans who are in the Middle East home. The department is facilitating charter flights from the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, as well as Jordan as security conditions allow. In the past several days, more than 9,000 Americans have safely returned home from the region. In the meantime, the commander-in-chief is set to meet with executives from the nation's biggest defense contractors at the White House on Friday. They'll discuss accelerating weapons production as the Pentagon works to replenish supplies amid continued strikes on Iran and other recent military efforts. While hosting Germany's chancellor at the White House on Tuesday, Mr. Trump addressing the country's weapons arsenal.
And by the way, we have massive amounts of ammunition. We have the high end. A lot of it was given away stupidly by Biden, very stupidly, for free. And I'm all for Ukraine, but they gave away a lot. As you know, when I give away ammunition, everybody pays for it. The European Union's paying for it. Then they can do what they want with it, but they are giving it, let's say, to Ukraine, and it's okay. But we gave away a lot of high end, but we have plenty. But we have unlimited middle and upper ammunition, which is really what we're using in this war.
Invited companies for Friday's meeting include Lockheed Martin, Raytheon parent company RTX, and other key suppliers. And Brian, while we may have plenty of ammunition now, the reality is the more we bomb Iran, the more we get involved in other conflicts, Ecuador most recently, the more the potential is that we don't have as large a stockpile and we need to replenish it.
Yeah, no, that is a true concern. Now, those companies that you just mentioned, as soon as this broadcast is over, I'm going to run over there and buy some stock in those countries. I mean, those companies, because I think I know where the contracts are going. That's called outside trading. That's just fair and balanced here. Lots going on. When I saw the thing on Ecuador, it was a little surprising, but then it's not. It's kind of the war that I want to be involved with, is stop these drug cartels. I think it's a good move.
Let's talk about Ecuador a little bit here, Brian. Basically, what's happening is that special forces troops are on the ground in Ecuador, but they're acting as in an advisory capacity to the Ecuador soldiers who are raiding various narco-terrorist sites there across the country of Ecuador. It's all part of the regional fight against narco-terrorism. Again, what we're hearing from the Pentagon and from other sources is that our soldiers are there strictly in an advisory capacity, that they are not engaged in the actual battle, which I think is what MAGA wants, that our troops aren't directly involved. But again, the mission is something that I think is near and dear to the hearts of Americans, trying to stop the flow of narcotics into this country.
I agree, Terrance. This is a great war to lean in on. And I don't know the last time we even had an Ecuador story in our rundown on American Sunrise or Real America's Voice ever. So it's nice to include a little bit of Ecuador in the rundown, but you're right. This is the fight to lead in on and start to stop these drug cartels. Terrance, as always, I appreciate it on this Wednesday. I look forward to seeing you on the other side of the For America Sundays.
All right, Bri. Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you. Yes, sir. All right, now to Washington and the very latest on Capitol Hill. Joining us now is national political reporter Neil McCabe. Neil, let's start with this first. Let's talk about the big election night. You had Arkansas, you had North Carolina, you had Texas, but let's start with Texas, the big one. Ken Paxton, right. John Cornyn, Wesley Hunt. We're in a runoff here. What's your thoughts on that?
Right. So I think the most important thing from a Washington perspective is the message received by Capitol Hill Republicans, because the pattern is that these Republicans campaign one way back home, and then they perform and execute differently once they get to Capitol Hill. Huge example is for the past, say, 12 years, John Cornyn has filed a national concealed carry reciprocity bill. He gets 40 Republican co-sponsors. They make a big hoo-ha-ha. And only once in the last 12 years has this thing even made it to committee. and it's all performative. It's all kabuki theater, and people finally caught up with it. And the message to Capitol Hill Republicans, hopefully, is that the people back home are watching. We saw that not only in the runoff with Cornyn and Hunt and Paxton, but also with Dan Crenshaw getting taken down. Crenshaw, you know, war hero, Navy SEAL, but he's also an acolyte of Admiral McRaven, who hates Trump. And he was always there, not so much publicly, but in committees and behind the scenes in cloakrooms, undermining the president. And the people in Texas just said, we've had enough.
You bring up an excellent point, and I've said this on this network many times, that people go out and they throw red meat on their campaign and all their rallies, and they get back in office and they do the exact opposite of what they promised their constituents to do. And I just encourage everybody to go to Liberty Scorecard. Go Google that, Liberty Scorecard. You can put in your representative's name. You can find out how they actually vote. And so many people have F's and D's and all that stuff. So we certainly encourage you to do that. Neil, thank you so much. I appreciate your time this morning. All right, it's a busy morning. If you're going to need a good cup of coffee or something, Artillery Tea Company, the only America First veteran-owned tea brand, and their mission is simple: maximize flavor with whole leaf blends and chemical-free tea bags. No junk, just real tea. And here's the tactical advantage: each bag brews twice. Just go to artillerytco.com and use the code RAV for 10% off your first order. That's artillerytco.com. Premium tea, mission driven, brewed for the brave. Coming up, we're standing by at the Pentagon briefing for a live broadcast set just minutes from now. What we're expecting to hear and why it matters. Do not go anywhere this morning. We'll be right back.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a real voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumppknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Welcome back to American Sunrise Early Edition. I am Brian Glenn. We're awaiting a live press conference right now at the Pentagon at the top of the hour. Let's go straight to Real America's Voice's own David Zier, who is on the ground there at the Pentagon. David, give us an update on what you expect today in this briefing.
Yes, a press briefing here in the press briefing room at the Pentagon about to get underway in just a few moments from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Joint Chiefs Chairman General Dan Kane and U.S. Central Command reporting that 50,000 troops, 200 fighters, 2 aircraft carriers and Air Force bombers continue to carry out attacks. They went further, saying the first day attacks would double the scale of 2003 shock and awe campaign. And we've struck over 2,000 targets so far. The UK scoring its first combat kill with their F-35 taking out a drone yesterday. We've degraded Iran's air defenses and taken out hundreds of ballistic missile launches. Report yesterday where that ballistic missile launches were down about only 25% of the previous day. There are reports of an Iranian naval vessel that may have been hit by a submarine off the coast of Sri Lanka with rescue operations underway overnight. We're going to try to ask questions about that. It's a really busy day here, and we expect a full briefing from Sec War and the Joint Chiefs.
I was just going to ask you what the atmosphere is there at the Pentagon. I mean, obviously, a lot going on. Were they open to take a lot of questions yesterday? I noticed that they were kind of limited on the amount of questions they took. What was your take on that?
Yeah, I was here the other day, and he took about 7-8 questions. Secretary Hegseth and General Kane gave a full briefing, but I think there was a little bit of it was tense with the MSM, the legacy media, and I think Hegseth was getting a little irritated. You know, but it should be a full presser today, and there's a lot of information coming out of the Department of War.
Yeah, I like the fact that Real America's Voice has an up-close front row seat in all of this. David, we appreciate, I know you got to hustle back to your seat, and all eyes will be on this room as soon as it starts. David Zier, we appreciate your coverage there on the ground at the Pentagon. I want to shift over to our very own David Brody, who's joining us in Washington, D.C. And David, I'll bring you in for this conversation as we await the Pentagon press conference here at the top of the hour. But let's go back and reflect on what happened last night in Texas. No big surprise, David, that we're going to have a runoff between Paxton and Cornyn. But I personally think that Paxton would have gotten a little bit more votes than he did.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. First of all, if you're John Cornyn this morning, you're like, crap, we spent $77 million or whatever it was altogether, and you couldn't even get, and you're still in a runoff. So that shows you that the momentum is clearly with Paxton in the base. Here's the problem. And by the way, if you're a Paxton fan this morning, you're not happy with Wesley Hunt. Let's be honest. I mean, you know, that was a situation where he siphoned some of the vote. Now, having said that, Brian, here, and I know folks in Ken Paxton land are not going to be happy with my analysis, but I think this is the way it's going to go down. I think it's going to be that President Trump comes out and endorses Cornyn. I'll explain that in a second. I think Wesley Hunt's 13% or so is going to go, call it 8% to 4% to Cornyn, maybe 9 to 3, 7 to 5. I don't think it's going to go as much to Paxton. I think it'll go to Cornyn. And then at that point, because you have the Trump endorsement and the Wesley Hunt vote skewing towards Cornyn, I think he'll probably win the runoff. Now, to be clear, the momentum is with Paxton. There's no doubt about it. But the problem is that you've got to be able to get some of those traditional establishment Republicans that Cornyn is very good at getting. And Wesley Hunt appeals a little bit more to them than to deep Ken Paxton MAGA. That seems to be the problem here. And why Trump would endorse Cornyn? Look, I believe that establishment GOP right now believes that Ken Paxton is the new Todd Akin. And we know about Todd Akin, right? Remember the day when Todd Akin in Missouri was running for the Senate and Mitch McConnell and all the establishment GOP said, oh my gosh, please, not Akin. We don't want him as the candidate. He's going to blow that safe Missouri seat. And indeed, that did happen. They believe, and what President Trump is going to be they're going to convince President Trump, they're going to try to say, Ken Paxton will lose you that Senate seat, especially to James Tallarico. The worst thing that happened to Ken Paxton last night was Tallarico beating Crockett. If it was Crockett versus Paxton, that's different. You got two bases, and then it's like, you got to get the energy out on each side of the base. But the fact that Tallarico won because he's deceptively good, that's the key word, deceptively good. And he he's going to peel off some Republicans. I know I'm going long here. There's a lot I want to say about it. But bottom line is Tallarico is dangerous. He could win that seat. I'm telling you right now, Cornyn versus Tallarico, Paxton versus Tallarico. I'm not sure it matters. I think Tallarico could win that. He reminds me of Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, a combination of both. Folksy with Bill Clinton, Barack Obama leaned into his faith and the language and your brother's keeper and the whole thing. He's got both going on. I'm telling you, dangerous combination for Republicans.
And the voter turnout for Democrats was really high, so they definitely came out. Lastly, 95% of Texans said no to Sharia law, so we can kind of put that to rest. Texans pushing back on Sharia law there in the great state of Texas. As always, David Brody, thank you so much, and you can have more. I love more David Brody. I want more David Brody in my life. You can see that. More cowbell in about 5-6 minutes. Also, live press conference at the Pentagon as well. David, we'll see you in a few. And as always, we thank you for watching. As always, goodbye. God bless. You can follow me at Brian Glenn TV on Twitter and Truth Social at Brian. Until next time, we'll see you.
American Sunrise is a great way to start your morning. Join us Monday through Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We've got the news of the day and some compelling interviews that you don't want to miss. Here's what you missed from yesterday. War with Iran beginning to spread regionally. Americans being warned to leave the Middle East if they can. U.S. embassies in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia closed as Iran has fired missiles into both of those countries. Iran, by the way, guys, even hit a British Air Force base in Cyprus, which I think really solidifies the fact that they're going all in, firing at anyone in support of Israel or the United States.
Look, there's a war now in Lebanon as well. Israel invading Lebanon after Hezbollah sent missiles over into northern Israel after Khamenei was killed. So you've got that going on. You've got Iran basically just firing missiles all over the place into Dubai and other places. Look, this thing could get out of control quickly and go sideways quickly.
I want your reaction to this headline. It says, disgusting and evil, Trump faces MAGA backlash on Iran. It's funny, Congressman, I'm looking at a backlash. There's no doubt about that. There are the America First, a lot of those folks out there who say they don't like this war, but I'm still not hearing the level of hostility you would normally hear against a president from Republicans.
Well, I'm in my district right now, about to head back to D.C. I've been here for a couple of days, and I have not heard any backlash from the Make America Great Again movement, MAGA. Now, look, this is not just about Israel, and if anyone in the MAGA world thinks it is, they're dead wrong. This is about intercontinental ballistic missiles that have been developed by the Iranians that could strike Washington, D.C., New York City, and if they develop even further, the interior parts of the United States of America.
Congressman, Speaker Johnson said yesterday that President Trump and the Trump administration was trying to continue to move forward with diplomatic means to solve all of this, but felt like Israel was going to go at it alone, so they joined in the effort in order to save or safeguard American forces. The implication was that Israel, to some degree, forced President Trump's hand to move forward. What do you make of that?
Well, I haven't heard those reports. We'll hear more today. Regardless of that, we have a joint interest in that. We have an interest in protecting Jordan as well. I mean, they're a great partner of ours. We use their airstrip, CENTCOM does. You know, I was over there last year, and we met with the president of Egypt. We met with King Abdullah. We met with members of the royal Saudi royal family. And they all had said the same thing in private. They wanted something to be done about Iran. They wanted normalcy in that region.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a real voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Good morning, America.
Welcome to American Sunrise.
Whether it's culture,
We have breaking news to share with you.
politics,
President Trump is joining us live now from Florida.
we've got you covered.
This is what it looks like to be a patriot.
We have to protect the American family.
The American dream is still alive.
I'm David Brody.
I'm Terrance.
And I'm Dr. Gina.
Breaking news from Real America's Voice.
We begin this Wednesday morning with breaking news as we are standing by for a briefing from the Pentagon on the efforts in Iran. We also expect Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to address the situation in Ecuador involving U.S. Special Forces who are engaged in an advisory role there as they try to continue to fight narco-terrorism. Once again, we will take you here live to the Pentagon the moment the Secretary of War takes the podium. Let's bring in David and Dr. Gina to talk a bit more about all of this. I'm Terrance Bates. Good morning to each and every one of you. David and Dr. Gina, good morning to both of you as well. David, let's start with the Ecuador situation. It is kind of the new concern. Again, U.S. Special Forces are said to be on the ground in Ecuador as part of narco-terrorism efforts. However, they are supposedly acting in an advisory role. So while there are technically boots on the ground, those boots aren't involved in any of the battles or any of the fighting that's happening there.
Well, it sounds like we need a graphic Monroe Doctrine alert with like bells and whistles, because here we go again as it relates to Ecuador. That's like the 8th country now that President Trump has, kind of waded into in some form or fashion, not airstrikes, obviously, but on the ground with special forces. So we'll see what happens. Look, in terms of Hegseth this morning, want to hear obviously about this Israeli strike. Apparently the mullahs were meeting yesterday, and Israel, there was some sort of strike that took out many of them they were voting on a new supreme leader. And Israel knew exactly where they were, and boom, they're gonzo. Gina, this is going to be interesting again. This war is not going to end I say war, I guess the Republicans wouldn't want me to call it a war, right? I'm sorry, it's a military operation, but it's not going to end anytime soon.
Yeah, well, I think that doesn't play well for those of us who just really hope that we just don't get in something long-term where we lose a bunch of Americans ultimately. And that's not even to mention the cost and the other risks. So I was really hoping this could be in and out fast, like we were kind of being told it would be. But David, I think the more I see, I have to tend to agree with you that the war is broadening and certainly not shrinking. It's feeling more like a war every day rather than a military operation.
Dr. Gina and David, we have Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne standing by. Dr. Gina, if you'll give us our Bible verse really quickly so we can try to get to her before the secretary gets to the podium and get her reaction to all of that, please.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go. Luke 12:25 and 26. And which of you, by worrying, can add 1 cubit to his stature? If you then are not able to do the least, why are you anxious for the rest? Such a great reminder as we look at this military operation, as we're calling it, that is obviously ahead of us. Let's bring in Texas Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne. Congresswoman, so far, I'm going to guess that you're going to say you think the situation has been handled well. What, in your opinion, is the public tolerance level in terms of length of time that we can be doing this until it begins to affect the midterms?
I think if it shows that they're being productive and not just hanging out, I mean, if they're actually making progress on having the Iranian regime overturned that has been, chanting death to America, teaching its children to hate America, funding proxy wars across the country, across the world, in killing innocent people. I think if we show that there's actually progress being made that is attacking the nuclear
Congresswoman, I apologize for interrupting you. Secretary Hegseth is taking the microphone, and so we want to listen in. Apologies for the interruption.
Winning decisively, devastatingly, and without mercy. Under the direct command of President Trump, the War Department unleashed this operation early Saturday morning, just 4 days ago, which means we need to remember 2 things. First, we are only 4 days into this. Metrics are shifting, dust is settling, and more forces are arriving. It's very early. And as President Trump has said, we will take all the time we need to make sure that we succeed. Second, we are only 4 days into this, and the results have been incredible. Historic, really. Only the United States of America could lead this, only us. But when you add the Israeli Defense Forces, a devastatingly capable force, the combination is sheer destruction for our radical Islamist Iranian adversaries. They are toast, and they know it. Or at least, soon enough, they will know it. And we have only just begun to hunt, dismantle, demoralize, destroy, and defeat their capabilities, just 4 days in. Starting last night and to be completed in a few days, in under a week, the 2 most powerful air forces in the world will have complete control of Iranian skies, uncontested airspace. I hope all the folks watching understand what uncontested airspace and complete control means. It means we will fly all day, all night, day and night, finding, fixing, and finishing the missiles and defense industrial base of the Iranian military, finding and fixing their leaders and their military leaders, flying over Tehran, flying over Iran, flying over their capital, flying over the IRGC, Iranian leaders looking up and seeing only U.S. and Israeli air power every minute of every day until we decide it's over. And Iran will be able to do nothing about it. B-2s, B-52s, B-1s, Predator drones, fighters, controlling the skies, picking targets. Death and destruction from the sky all day long. We're playing for keeps. Our warfighters have maximum authorities granted personally by the president and yours truly. Our rules of engagement are bold, precise, and designed to unleash American power, not shackle it. This was never meant to be a fair fight, and it is not a fair fight. We are punching them while they're down, which is exactly how it should be. Thus far, Operation Epic Fury has delivered twice the air power of shock and awe of Iraq in 2003, minus Paul Bremer and the nation building. The campaign has 7 times the intensity of Israel's previous operations against Iran during the 12-day war. 7 times. And as President Trump said, more and larger waves are coming. We are just getting started. We are accelerating, not decelerating. Iran's capabilities are evaporating by the hour, while American strength grows fiercer, smarter, and utterly dominant. More bombers and more fighters are arriving just today. And now, with complete control of the skies, we will be using 500-pound, 1,000-pound, and 2,000-pound GPS and laser-guided precision gravity bombs, of which we have a nearly unlimited stockpile. We used more exquisite standoff munitions at the start, but no longer need to. Our stockpiles of those, as well as Patriots, remains extremely strong. The enemy can no longer shoot the volume of missiles they once did, not even close. And the chairman will lay out some of those percentages. So our air defenses and that of our allies have plenty of runway. We can sustain this fight easily for as long as we need to. And as I said yesterday, we set the terms. Now, you may not see much of it because the IRGC shut off the internet to the entirety of the country. They blind their people on purpose, just like they kill their own on purpose. Much was made of the volume of missiles Iran was able to shoot in the first few days. And sadly, as we projected, a few got through and killed 6 of our best, who will hopefully arrive home soon. We will avenge them, no doubt. But I liken Iran's predicament to a football team who scripted the first 20 plays of a game. The team knew what plays to run because their first few drives were scripted. But now that the game has started and the blitz is on, they don't know what plays to call, let alone how to get in the huddle and call those plays. Iran's senior leaders are dead. The so-called governing council that might have selected a successor, dead, missing, or cowering in bunkers, too terrified to even occupy the same room. Senior generals, mid-level officers, enlisted ranks, they can't talk or communicate, let alone mount a coordinated and sustained offensive. That's not great for morale. The Iranian Air Force is no more, built for 1996, destroyed in 2026. The Iranian Navy rests at the bottom of the Persian Gulf. Combat ineffective, decimated, destroyed, defeated, pick your adjective. In fact, last night, we sunk their prize ship, the Soleimani. Looks like POTUS got him twice. Their Navy, not a factor. Pick your adjective, it is no more. In fact, yesterday, in the Indian Ocean, and we'll play it on the screen there, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we are fighting to win. Also, yesterday, the leader of the unit who attempted to assassinate President Trump has been hunted down and killed. Iran tried to kill President Trump, and President Trump got the last laugh. Now, this is not a mission accomplished situation. This is simply a reality check. The combination of U.S. and Israeli intelligence and combat power will control Iran, and will control it soon. Sure, Iran will still be able to shoot some missiles and still be able to launch one-way attack drones at civilian targets, and their proxies will attempt to attack our embassies, bases, and soft targets. They are terrorists, after all, and they need to target civilians because they can't fight toe-to-toe. But we will find them, and we will kill them. This is what the fake news misses. We've taken control of Iran's airspace and waterways without boots on the ground. We control their fate. But when a few drones get through or tragic things happen, it's front page news. I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad, but try for once to report the reality. The terms of this war will be set by us at every step. As I said Monday, the mission is laser focused. Obliterate Iran's missiles and drones and facilities that produce them, annihilate its navy and critical security infrastructure, and sever their pathway to nuclear weapons. Iran will never possess a nuclear bomb, not on our watch, not ever. And this is why President Trump's moral clarity on Iran today is so vital. Unlike the past, where vague red lines and endless negotiations let Iran fund terror and inch ever so slightly toward a bomb, this president sees the threat plainly and acts decisively. No more half measures, especially when Iran is at its weakest. No more letting Tehran play for time while our people pay the price. His leadership ensures that we finish what we start and that we protect our warfighters by crushing the enemy before they can strike again. Our offensive operations, refined through months of relentless preparation, are unstoppable. And our defensive efforts are unprecedented. We have from the start put the protection of our troops ahead of everything else. Before we very publicly built up offensive combat power, we quietly ensured that our defensive posture and power was in place. And as we built up offensive combat power, we moved the vast majority of American troops, over 90% of Americans that were on our bases, what we say off the X, out of the range of Iranian fire. Our defensive shield is equally formidable, the most sophisticated air and missile defense network ever fielded. Thousands of Iranian missiles and drones have been intercepted and vaporized. Tens of thousands of American and allied lives protected. We have pushed every counter-UAS system possible forward, sparing no expense or capability. And like I said, this does not mean we can stop everything, but we ensured that the maximum possible defense and maximum possible force protection was set up before we went on offense. In closing, as President Trump told German Chancellor Merz yesterday, Iran negotiated in bad faith, stalling, scheming, and preparing to strike. And we acted decisively to defend our people, our interests, and our allies. President Trump took bold action, putting America first, the kind of bold action that the American people elected him to execute. To our steadfast partner, Israel, your mission is being executed with unmatched skill and iron determination. Fighting shoulder to shoulder with such a capable ally is a true force multiplier and a breath of fresh air. We salute your courage and your contribution. 4 days in, we have only just begun to fight. America fights to win, and in Operation Epic Fury, we are. May God's providence cover and protect our troops always. And with that, I turn it over to the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm here today to provide the American people and those of you in this room an update on Operation Epic Fury. First, it's with profound sadness and gratitude that I share the names of 4 of our 6 fallen heroes, all from the 103rd Sustainment Command, U.S. Army Reserves out of Des Moines, Iowa. Captain Cody Cork, Sergeant First Class Noah Tegens, Sergeant First Class Nicole Amore, and Sergeant Declan Cody. To the families of our fallen, we grieve with you today, and we look forward to welcoming your family members home at Dover in the coming days. Out of respect for the other families, we'll withhold the release of their names until next of kin notification is complete. And either myself or Admiral Cooper will release those names as soon as we can ensure that all of those families have been properly notified. To our Gold Star families, to our wounded warriors and their loved ones, we will never forget your sacrifice. Our nation stands with you, and we are eternally grateful for your courage, your resiliency, your devotion to this mission and to our nation. As the Secretary said, we're 4 days in, 103 hours into this campaign. The operation was again launched with clear military objectives designed to dismantle Iran's ability to project power outside of its borders, both today and in the future. First, we are targeting and eliminating Iran's ballistic missile systems to prevent them from threatening the U.S. Forces, partners, and interests in the region. Second, we are destroying the Iranian Navy, degrading its capacity, capability, and ability to conduct operations, not just in the Central Command AOR, but as the Secretary showed in the video, around the world. Third, we're ensuring Iran cannot rapidly rebuild or reconstitute its combat capability or combat power, and those phases will begin as the campaign continues. As of this morning, U.S. Central Command is making steady progress. Iran's theater ballistic missile shots fired are down 86% from the first day of fighting, with a 23% decrease just in the last 24 hours. And their one-way attack drone shots are down 73% from the opening days. This progress has allowed CENTCOM to establish localized air superiority across the southern flank of the Iranian coast and penetrate their defenses with overwhelming precision and firepower. We will now begin to expand inland, striking progressively deeper into Iranian territory and creating additional freedom of maneuver for U.S. forces. Let me explain a little bit about how we're thinking about staying ahead of the enemy. First, over the past several weeks, Admiral Cooper and the CENTCOM team have refined their operational approach to the region. Their planners identified key centers of gravity that would allow Iran to project power outside of its borders. They thought about how to isolate critical vulnerabilities and determined where, with precision, the greatest strategic effect could be achieved. As a result of this, CENTCOM is now shifting in day 4 already from large, deliberate strike packages using standoff munitions at range outside an enemy's ability to shoot at us, now into stand-in precision strikes overhead Iran. As the Secretary said, this is a point of munitions transition from standoff munitions to stand-in munitions like joint direct attack munitions, which are GPS-aided free-fall weapons, and other things like Hellfires, etc. This will allow the joint force to deliver significantly increased precision effects on the target. The throttle is coming up, as the Secretary said, as opposed to ramping down. This will allow us to maintain consistent pressure on the adversary over the coming days, disrupt their launch timelines, and impose cost every day around the clock. I know there have been a lot of questions about munitions. We have sufficient precision munitions for the task at hand, both on the offense and defense. But I want to tell you, teammates, as a matter of practice, I don't want to be talking about quantities. And I know there's been a great debate about that, and I appreciate the interest, but just know that we consider that an operational security matter. Let me flip to the map here. Hopefully I don't kill anybody with a laser pointer. As I mentioned earlier, and for you with the camera right there, my friend, I hope I don't ricochet off and hurt you. Over the initial days, the U.S. Joint Forces continued to attack and attrit ballistic missile capabilities as well as integrated air defense capabilities along the southern axis. Along the northern axis, Israel and the Israeli Air Force has predominantly been working integrated air defense targets along the northern flank, as well as medium-range ballistic missile capability as well. From the sea, the USS Ford has continued to project combat power here, as well as the bomber pulses that we talked about in the opening days of this briefing. Along the southern axis, the USS Abraham Lincoln Strike Group has continued to provide pressure from the sea along the southeastern side of the coast and has been attriting naval capability all along the strait and up into the Arabian Gulf at a size and scale sufficient to address the targets required. To date, we've hit over 2,000 targets, as Admiral Cooper said in his video last night. We've destroyed more than 20 Iranian naval vessels, including, in addition to the frigate outside of the area, 1 submarine, and effectively neutralized at this point in time Iran's major naval presence in theater out there. As the Secretary Secretary showed the video for the first time since 1945. A United States Navy fast attack submarine has sunk an enemy combatant ship using a single Mark 48 torpedo to achieve immediate effect, sending the warship to the bottom of the sea. I want to remind everybody that this is an incredible demonstration of America's global reach. To hunt, find, and kill an out-of-area deployer is something that only the United States can do at this type of scale. Over the next 24 to 48 hours, CENTCOM will continue to strike infrastructure and naval capability, and we'll continue to assess our progress against the military objectives. It does take time for us to collect that information and to assess en route. Much of our intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capability is currently hunting and killing ballistic missile launchers and one-way attack capability. We're precise in that assessment, and we call balls and strikes in that assessment. We take that matter seriously. Iran, on the other hand, has been indiscriminate and more imprecise in their attacks. They fired more than 500 ballistic missiles and more than 2,000 drones, striking innocent civilian targets throughout the region. Our partners are answering the call to defend themselves right alongside us. Jordan, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, and Kuwait are all defending their people with their own combat capability, with precision and restraint. Jordanian air defense crews recently intercepted a cluster of Iranian one-way attack drones headed to Amman. Bahrain's air defense forces shot down an inbound drone approaching Manama's maritime infrastructure, protecting both their population and critical shipping lanes. Saudi Patriot batteries stopped a salvo of ballistic missiles aimed at energy facilities near Dhahran. The UAE neutralized multiple drones targeting Abu Dhabi's industrial zone, demonstrating speed and precision. And Qatari fighters for the first time have shot down 2 Iranian bombers that were en route to their location. Together, these nations are helping to defend themselves and project power as required against the enemy. We're 100 hours in. It's still very early, as the Secretary said, but the balance is shifting. We've always got to remember that these operations are complex, dangerous, and far from over. Our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Guardians, and Coast Guardsmen remain in harm's way, and we must be clear-eyed that the risk is still high. This is combat. Let us never forget this. As we continue, I ask that we hold all of our deployed teammates in our thoughts, those standing the watch, flying the sorties, sustaining the fight, and carrying our nation's burden. And I'll stop where I started, and that's remembering our 6 fallen who will return home as soon as possible. I remain humbled, grateful, inspired by every day the valor and professionalism of our joint force. They are quiet professionals through and through, out there doing America's work through the day and through the darkness. And with that, I'll take your questions along with the Secretary.
Go ahead.
What do you assess the enemy's control and command status is right now? And can you broadly describe our decisive point in this operation?
Well, I won't describe the decisive point in the operation because that would tell the bad guys what it was.
That's a good question, though.
I appreciate the question. There are C2 structures in a bad way. Admiral Cooper's been continuing to pressure C2 at the IRGC C2 and other military elements, and will continue to do so. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. Mary Margaret with the Daily Wire. Couple questions for you and then one for General Kane. Can you tell us more about how we took out the leader who was the leader of the group that was trying to assassinate President Trump? And then Turkey's defense ministry says NATO air defense systems intercepted an Iranian ballistic missile headed towards Turkish airspace. Could this trigger NATO's Article 5, and was it the U.S. who shot it down?
On the first question, we've known for a long time that Iran had intentions on trying to kill President Trump and or other U.S. officials. And while that was not the focus of the effort by any stretch of the imagination, in fact, never raised by the president or anybody else, I ensured and others ensured that those who were responsible for that were eventually part of the target list. It wasn't the beginning of the effort. We were focused on missiles and launchers, and that's the focus. But ultimately, if we had the opportunity to get at those who are trying to get at Americans specifically, we would. And so we eventually had the opportunity to do that from the air. And then on the matter with Turkey, I'll have to get back to you on exactly what the intercept looked like at that. We're aware of that particular engagement, although no sense that it would trigger anything like Article 5. No. Tie right there. You got a tie on.
Yeah. Thank you. Tom Bateman with the BBC. Can you give us an update on what the administration knows, what you know now about the reported strike on a girls' school in southern Iran on Saturday?
All I can say is that we're investigating that. We, of course, never target civilian targets, but we're taking a look at investigating that. Red tie in front.
Just on the basis that with the information you would have, your reconnaissance abilities, ability to gather information, I mean, it's several days on now. So is there any clarity on whose munition this was?
We're investigating it. Thank you.
Secretary, so there are reports that the administration is considering arming Iranian Kurdish groups. So could you please clarify that whether any such plan has been authorized and whether Congress or regional partners has been notified and consulted?
All I would say is none of our objectives are premised on the support or the arming of any particular force. So what other entities may be doing, we're aware of, but our objectives aren't centered on that. Green, right there.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Secretary. Michael in the Washington Times. Can you talk a little bit about the deconfliction process that's going on? You have two parallel operations, Epic Fury and Roaring Lion. How are you making sure they're not interfering with each other?
Sure, I'm happy to take that. Thank you for the question. We have liaison officers on both sides. There are U.S. CENTCOM teammates out in Israel, and there are Israeli Defense Force teammates at the relevant command and control nodes within the U.S. CENTCOM enterprise. Routinely, Admiral Cooper is talking to the IDF Chief of Defense, and I will occasionally speak to him through the arc of this. I've spoken to him a few times already. That allows us to coordinate, integrate, and synchronize activities while maintaining separate efforts.
And when I said a breath of fresh air, I really meant it. Usually it's us with some ancillary benefits from allies who are maybe willing but not as capable. When you have both the will and the capability of an ally that can really bring things to bear, we take certain targets, they take certain targets, and when you coordinate it, it has incredible effects. Right here.
Secretary Hegseth, with respect to House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries' statement that the Iran mission will end in failure, what kind of message does that send to our enemies, and what does it do to the motivation of our troops?
Well, I've been through that movie before with the Democrats rooting against the country. Our generation saw that in our battlefields. I think it's pretty unprecedented and unfortunate that it would occur 4 days in to an operation where, as the chairman laid out, America's best are operating in an incredibly challenging environment where they're having incredible success, but they're meeting a determined adversary. And he's been privy to briefs that we've provided. He knows how effective this has been. He's being disingenuous, which we're used to. Right here.
Thank you for taking my question. Heather Mullins, Lindell TV. One of the questions I have is just really regarding the intelligence that indicated that this was something the U.S. had to get involved with at the time that you guys did. We had Operation Midnight Hammer back in June. We obliterated their nuclear facilities. What was the intelligence that suggested that somehow they became a threat once again that required us to get involved with Operation Epic Fury?
I appreciate the question. The evidence in front of us since the 12-day war was that Iran had no intention of actually negotiating a nuclear deal that truly meant they did not have a pathway to the nuclear bomb. And they had a moment. Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, two of the best negotiators in the world, poured into that negotiation, giving them every single possible opportunity to release that ambition, and they didn't. And the intelligence that we saw they didn't intend to do it in good faith, that they had the intentions eventually to get to a place where they could have a conventional shield to block their nuclear capabilities, as I talked about yesterday. So I would separate the what from the when a little bit. The what is they've been killing Americans for 47 years. They have thousands of missiles pointed at us. They have ongoing nuclear ambitions, and they're at the weakest they've ever been. So the when became in a particular, hey, what makes the most sense to do this to ensure that the narrow objectives we have of ensuring they never have a nuclear weapon have a maximum effect. Yes, right here.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. I had two questions. First, what is your message to Iran's allies, namely Russia and China, who have called for an immediate end to hostilities?
I don't have a message for them, and they're not really a factor here. And our issue is not with them, it's with the nuclear ambitions of Iran.
Absolutely. And are any so-called fully autonomous weapons or other AI tools being used in Operation Epic Fury?
We've got a lot of autonomous systems, or systems that drones and others incorporated with smart AI aspects to them, but a lot of which I can't talk about here. Yeah. Yellow, right there. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. As you know, China is accusing the United States of invading in Iran, a sovereign nation, and North Korea, which cooperate with Iran on nuclear development, has declared its commitment to protecting Iran. What is the United States' strategic response to this? And I have a second one. How many allies joined with the United States to fighting against Iran? Do you have any numbers?
Well, I think what you're seeing right now is a response in the region to the belligerence of Iran and the willingness of them to target civilian airports, civilian hotels, civilian locations, civilian oil infrastructure of their Gulf neighbors who would have preferred not to be in conflict, didn't want to, but now realize that this is something that has to be dealt with. So whether it's UAE or Qatar or Bahrain or Kuwait or Saudi, on different levels, they're reaching out to us, whether they're going on offense, which they are, whether they're giving us additional access, basing, and overflight. We're working very closely and collaborating with them. Also on air defenses. The air defense capabilities of those countries are significant, and when combined with ours and we coordinate, it brings simplicity to the shot doctrine, so we make sure we're using less munitions but being more effective with what we shoot at. And as it pertains to other countries, I'll sort of give the same question. They don't really bear on the case of Iran. We're going to deal with Iran's nuclear ambitions, and that'll send plenty of signals in the process. Right there. Purple.
Are you going to help get Americans out of the region? The military going to help? Secretary, I have two questions. One question for you and the other question for Mr. Chairman. You ruled out that you are not engaging with the Kurdish forces, Iranian Kurdish forces, to incursion from the Kurdistan region to Iran. But now and today, Iranian said that under threatening the Kurdistan region, they said clearly if there is any incursion from the Kurdistan region, they will attack all the Kurdistan region and go war with the Kurdistan region. What's your comment on that? And a question for Mr. Chairman, given comments that the U.S. forces might be deployed if necessary, under what specific conditions would you determine that deploying U.S. boots on the ground is necessary, and how would such a decision support and advance your stated strategic goals?
Well, I'm not going to comment on U.S. boots on the ground. I think that's a question for policymakers, and I don't make policy. I execute policy. I will say on the question in the back corner about helping Americans get out, first, it's a great opportunity to encourage everybody in the region to go to the State Department and register. Secretary Rubio's been trying to get that word out, and I'd ask you to help us with that, to have folks register. We've also opened up space available seats as C-17s and other airplanes come in to try to help folks get out, but that's really a State Department matter. But to answer your question, that's what we've been doing.
Absolutely. Last question right here.
Secretary Hegseth, thank you. Reagan Reese with the Daily Caller. You touched on this in your opening remarks, but I'm hoping you could expand on it a bit. It's been reported that Iran might be trying to outlast our ability to intercept their missiles. It sounds like you guys are saying they don't have the ability to do so. Is that the case? Can they outlast us in their ability to do that?
Iran cannot outlast us. We're going to ensure through violence of action and our offensive capabilities and our defensive capabilities, as I said, that we set the tone and the tempo of this fight. That's why stories and speculation about different things that try to make it look like we're limited in what we can do. The only limits we have in this is President Trump's desire to achieve specific effects on behalf of the American people. And that's why we don't talk about, you can say 4 weeks, but it could be 6, it could be 8, it could be 3. Ultimately, we set the pace and the tempo. The enemy is off balance, and we're going to keep them off balance. And we know their ability to shoot versus our ability to defend. That difference gets wider and wider every day. Our defense gets better, their offense capabilities diminish. As we are going into ammunitions that we, as we said, have tens of thousands of and can drop unlimited supplies on with even more effects than the standoff munitions we have now, which is why when we say the throttle's going up, the throttle's going up and it's going to stay on high. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Raising Kane, speaking about the current situation in Iran. The Secretary ending his remarks saying their ability to shoot and our ability to defend is increasing every single day. They can shoot less and we are defending more. That's the big takeaway. Let's bring in Dr. Gina and David to talk more about what we just heard and unpack some of what we just heard. There's a lot to unpack, David. Where would you like to start? There's so many places you could start.
Yeah, I mean, my goodness, this is there's a lot of meat inside of here. Let me just read you a couple of my notes. I'll go quickly. He said, quote, Hegseth said, quote, "We will take all the time we need to succeed. They are toast. They know it." Then he said, we're just 4 days in. And then he said, we only just begun, which is going to concern, obviously, folks in MAGA. And then he says, we will decide when it's over. Well, I think the question then becomes, when do you decide it's over exactly? Like, what's the metric there exactly? I think that's going to be a question going forward. I have some big news coming out of it. He says the Iranian Air Force is gone. The Iranian Navy is gone. They've eliminated the head of the Special Operations Department of the IRGC. His name, by the way, is Rahman Makdam. He's the guy that it was the mastermind behind trying to kill President Trump, assassinate President Trump. He's gone. He's in hell, by the way. And then he said to Israel, "We salute your courage," which, Tucker Carlson is probably having spasms at this point once he said that. 86% less ballistic missile attacks from Iran. So there's progress, big time. 73% less drone attacks from Iran, progress. To me, guys, as this was all going on, there's a couple of other elements, Gina, to point out, and it was touched upon a little bit in that press conference. We're getting word in the last hour that Iran has sent a missile towards Turkey. It was intercepted by NATO. You're attacking a NATO member. By the way, Turkey, not the biggest fan, and I'm being facetious, as in I can't stand Erdogan over there. But they are a NATO member. And so that changes a whole bit of the calculus here. My understanding is we're going after a pipeline in Turkey where Israel gets 30% of their oil. So that's part of it. The other part of this, too, Gina, is that get ready. And I said this yesterday, and I thought it was going to take place. I believe it's going to. Get ready for Saudi Arabia to get involved and hit inside Iran. If that happens, Katie barred the door. I said it yesterday, but my understanding is that could be happening today as well, Gina.
Yeah, and I just want to go back to that, David. So what will the implications of that be?
Mm-hmm. Well, what, Saudi Arabia attacking Iran?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a game changer, but explain all the implications. I know you're very intimately familiar with this, so I just wanted to give you a chance to elaborate.
It depends. It depends what the scope of the attack is. I mean, I think we have to wait and see what they do specifically. But having said that, this is exactly what many folks were concerned about who are against this war, which is that the conflict would be much bigger than just kind of a little bit of a regional war. Remember, Saudi Arabia is the, and I guess I'll say it this way, the Mecca, pun intended, for the Muslim world. I mean, Saudi Arabia, in a way, represents the Muslim world in so many different forms and factions based on the fact that Mecca and Medina are both there. So if you're going to start to have Saudi Arabia now become involved with the two most holy sites in Islam, then you have a situation where you've got Sunnis, where the Saudi Arabia made up of Sunnis, and the Shiites in Iran. Now you're getting into religious civil war situations with two of the biggest countries in that region. So
you're not saying, that's what I was trying to get from you. You're not saying that means that ushers in the end of the war more quickly because of their added firepower, et cetera, and not even to mention social power, et cetera. You're saying that widens the situation.
Correct. And it gets a little bit out of the United States' hands at that point, which is exactly the danger that many in MAGA are concerned about.
I just want to add quickly,
Gina and David,
I think the one thing that I took from it, if I may very quickly, is that it seems to me that the Department of War and perhaps the president are acutely aware of the desire of MAGA to make this a finished situation, to not be a long-term war. The statement that I read by Hegseth is that the U.S. and Israel will have complete uncontested control of Iranian skies in under a week. That tells me they're at least cognizant of the fact that this is a big desire of MAGA, Terrance.
Yes.
All right, guys, let's bring in our RAV correspondent and the host of Breaking Point, David Zier. He's at the Pentagon. You heard him ask a question of the secretary there. David, your big takeaways from what we just heard, particularly being there in the room.
Yes, good morning, Terrance. A packed briefing room here at the Pentagon for the Department of War with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Joint Chiefs Chairman General Dan Kane confirming this morning that we, in fact, used the first torpedo strike since World War II with a Mark 48 torpedo from a U.S. submarine taking out an Iranian vessel in the Indian Ocean. I believe that was off the Sri Lankan coast. Rescue efforts were underway by the Sri Lankan Navy to rescue survivors of that. But there's been large-scale attacks across Iran as we enter day 5 of Operation Epic Fury. I got a chance to ask Secretary Hegseth about the incredible remarks by House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries about we're going to fail on our mission in Iran. And I asked him, how does that impact the enemies? How do they look at America? And does it affect the motivation of our troops? And Hegseth said he's been through that before, that rodeo before, basically, and that he thinks that Hakeem Jeffries has been disingenuous as he's been in on the briefings about Iran, and he knows different than that. But together with the IDF, Secretary Hegseth claiming we're going to have complete domination of Iranian skies probably within a week here, and we can sustain this fight as long as we have to.
David, if I can follow up, and David Brody, this is a follow-up to something that you mentioned. We also learned that there's been a rocket attack on Turkey, and that, of course, raises questions about whether NATO, in fact, does get involved. I believe Secretary Hegseth said that he doesn't believe at this point that that rocket attack would trigger Article 5, which would ultimately invoke more NATO involvement here. Can you expound on that for us?
It did not come up today, but Hegseth and Dan Kane did say that we moved 90% of U.S. troops out of harm's way from ballistic missile attacks in the region, and other allies have joined the fight. Britain shooting down a drone with one of the U.S. F-35. I think they have 37 F-35s in their inventory. Ultimately, I think they're seeking 138 of them. But also Qatar confirming that they shot down multiple drones and maybe 2 Iranian fighter jets. And then, with the attack in Saudi Arabia on the CIA office over there, it looks like these other nations will ramp it up and get involved.
David, I was curious. I was surprised that no one brought up boots on the ground. President Trump brought it up the other day where he said he's not ruling it in or out. So I'm curious that Hegseth wasn't asked about that. Also, he said this specifically. He said we're doing in Iran twice the air power we did in Iraq. Minus the nation building is what he said. I'm also curious. He said we will decide when it's over. Well, I think the logical follow-up is, when do you know that will be exactly? I mean, what's the metric? Yeah. What's the metric there?
Yes, David. Secretary Hegseth's been clear that he's not going to allude to what the next steps specifically will be. here. And he also mentioned that the attacks were 7 times that of last June's bombing of Iran and twice as much as shock and awe in 2003 in the initial round of attacks. But now it's about air superiority, taking down Iran's defenses, B-1s, B-2s, B-52 bombers, U.S. fighter jets, and other support aircraft. That is the mission. And I don't think they're going to give away whether or not and what type of any types of boots on the ground, special operations. And you also indicated the other day at the press briefing here that he is not going to get specific about, when and where there will be any cooperation with resistance on the ground, whether it's the MEK, the Mujahideen in Iran, the NCRI, or other. So I think that we're going to have to wait and see as day 5 continues here of attacks on Iran, over 500 ballistic missiles taken out, 2,000 drones, the air power and American military might on full display.
Yeah, I don't think, David Zier, that anyone would need to disclose specific tactics as much as David mentioned, perhaps metrics, like what's the measure? How do we know when we're done? What's the ultimate goal? I don't think that's a tactical question. I think that's more of a metrics question.
Donald Trump has been clear that he wants the people to rise up in Iran and take control. And what that looks like is still to be determined. Will it be Reza Pahlavi, the son of the Shah, the Iranian people? A lot of them don't want to be reminded of the days of the Shah, the MEK and the socialist and the Marxist type resistance that was persecuted by the Shah were the ones who led the revolution in 1979. And it was the mullahs who hijacked out from under them. And they have the organization on the ground here. I think it would be premature to speculate when and if there would be and what type of support there will be. But I think the goal is to get air superiority, take down their air defenses, bomb the strategic targets inside Iran, and then address that.
It is day 4 of the conflict in Iran, and I think it's becoming more and more clear that conflict is quickly moving to a regional war. David Zier reporting for us at the Pentagon this morning. David, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Coming up, what can the Bible teach us about times of war? The Bible history guy, Jim Mosley, breaks it all down for us next here on American Sunrise.
This holiday season, Real America's Voice is proud to partner with our friends at Angel Studios for a special giveaway you won't want to miss. As they launch season 2 of their hit series Homestead, we're giving you the chance to win an exclusive Homestead hat absolutely free. Everyone who becomes an Angel Guild member using our link is automatically entered to the contest. When you join, you're supporting meaningful pro-American storytelling, and you're supporting RAV at the same time. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, or text the word RAVAngel to 75802. After you scan or text, make sure you follow the steps provided. When you complete the steps and join the Angel Guild, you'll be automatically entered to win that exclusive Homestead hat, a perfect holiday gift for yourself or someone you love.
Be one of the first 50 people to sign up and win a hat automatically. Hurry while there's still time.
So scan that QR code or text RAVAngel to 75802. Happy holidays from all of us at RAV.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and
God bless the USA.
In
the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. It's time now for our Moments of Faith, brought to us by Lee Greenwood and the God Bless the USA Bible. In focus today, during every military action, our country tends to pull together. We pray, we hope, and we listen to big promises. But the real question isn't how confident a speech or after-action report sounds. It's whether a nation is truly aligned with its founding principles. And believe it or not, the Bible records a moment when a nation discovered it wasn't. Here to help us analyze this is our friend Jim Mosley, the author of The Duke of D.C., The American Dream, Discovering Jesus' Disciples, Who They Were, What They Believed, and what they achieved. Jim also co-wrote a book with Dr. G, The Days of Creation by Heart, teaching children how God made the world. But around here, we simply call him the Bible history guy. Good morning, Jim. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. How are you?
Great. How are you? So walk us through this a little bit more.
Well, just imagine this. What if tomorrow there's a junior archivist working in Washington and he makes a stunning discovery? It's not a classified file. It's not a forgotten memo. It's a copy of the U.S. Constitution, dusty, neglected, tucked away in the National Archives. And what if the archivist actually read it? What if he took it to the Oval Office, into the Speaker's Chamber, into the Senate Leadership Office, into the Supreme Court? And what if, as they all read it aloud, they realized, to their shock, that for decades we've drifted from its plain instructions. Like, for example, Congress is supposed to pass budgets. War is supposed to be debated and declared. Powers are divided deliberately. That spending is restrained by law. Well, that's not a modern political fantasy. That's 2 Kings 22, because that's exactly what happened in ancient Judah. During the renovations of the temple, a priest found a book of the law, the covenant charter of the nation. And when it was read to King Josiah, he tore his robes. Why? Because he realized something terrifying. The nation had lost its identity, not because of enemies, but because its leaders had ignored its founding document. And Josiah didn't blame the past. He didn't argue with the text. He let the text judge the nation. He gathered the people. He read it publicly. He removed what violated it. And he restored covenant worship. So here's the uncomfortable part. Reform requires humility. It requires admitting drift. It requires submitting power to a higher authority. Nations don't decline and fall because they lack documents. They decay because they stop honoring them. In Josiah's day, the scroll was sitting in the temple the whole time. The Constitution isn't missing. The question is, will we allow it to govern us, or will we surrender to a government that rolls over it? Just one more part of the Bible that still speaks to us today.
Absolutely. Jim, we so appreciate you breaking all of that down for us, and every time that you're here with us on American Sunrise. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be back with the second hour of American Sunrise in 2 minutes. Stick around.
Introducing the limited edition God Bless the USA Bible, inspired by Lee Greenwood's hit song and the most recognized patriotic anthem in America, God Bless the USA. The God Bless the USA large print leather-bound King James Bible also contains America's founding documents, the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Pledge of Allegiance, along with a handwritten chorus to Lee Greenwood's song, God Bless the USA. With its large print and slim design, this Bible invites you to explore God's Word anywhere, anytime. The God Bless the USA Bible makes the perfect gift and cherished family heirloom keepsake to pass on to future generations. Designed for an easy reading experience in the trusted King James Version translation, this large print Bible is perfect to take to church, Bible study, work, and for traveling. Order yours today at GodBlessTheUSABible.com.
This holiday season, Real America's Voice is proud to partner with our friends at Angel Studios for a special giveaway you won't want to miss. As they launch Season 2 of their hit series Homestead, we're giving you the chance to win an exclusive Homestead hat absolutely free. Everyone who becomes an Angel Guild member using our link is automatically entered to the contest. When you join, you're supporting meaningful pro-American storytelling, and you're supporting RAV at the same time. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, or text the word RAV Angel to 75800 7582. After you scan or text, make sure you follow the steps provided. When you complete the steps and join the Angel Guild, you'll be automatically entered to win that exclusive homestead hat, a perfect holiday gift for yourself or someone you love.
Be one of the first 50 people to sign up and win a hat automatically. Hurry while there's still time.
So scan that QR code or text RAVAngel to 75802. Happy holidays from all of us at RAV.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials.
Coming up on the second hour of American Sunrise, combat operations continue in Iran as the Islamist country's remaining leaders scramble to pick a successor following the killing of Ayatollah Khomeini. We'll talk about the latest developments just straight ahead. Plus, Democrat voters in Texas have chosen James Tallarico to head the general election to face off against either Ken Paxton or John Cornyn as Republican candidates head into a runoff there. We're going to talk about the fallout from yesterday's Senate primary, also a little later in the hour. And also ahead, several mosques based in the United States facing scrutiny this morning after imams praised and eulogized Ayatollah al-Khamenei, the brutal Iranian dictator that was killed in the U.S., and Israeli airstrikes on Tehran over the weekend. We're going to have the facts on that coming up in the hour. Those stories, so much more as the second hour of American Sunrise starts right now.
Good morning, America.
Welcome to American Sunrise.
Whether it's culture,
we have breaking news to share with you.
Politics.
President Trump is joining us live now from Florida.
We've got you covered.
This is what it looks like to be a patriot.
We have to protect the American family.
The American dream is still alive.
I'm David Brody.
I'm Terrance.
And I'm Dr. Gina.
Welcome back, everybody, to the second hour of American Sunrise. I'm David Brody, coming to you from D.C. Let's bring in Dr. G in West Palm and T. Bates in our Denver newsroom. Good morning to both of you. So obviously Hegseth and Iran, we've been talking a lot about that. We really haven't talked about the big Texas primaries, which we're going to get into in this hour. Cornyn and Paxton going to a runoff, Tallarico winning for the Democrats in Texas. So interesting to see what President Trump does now. Will he endorse Paxton? Will he endorse Cornyn? I don't think he's going to endorse Ken Paxton. I think he's going to endorse Cornyn. We can talk more about it, Gina. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm super curious to get your thoughts on that, because that doesn't sound, I understand the pragmatics of that.
That's what it is.
But that Trump loyalty thing is a thing. And I know Ken Paxton, I mean, he's a fixture here. I see him here. I'm just very surprised that you thought that. When you said that, I was surprised.
Oh, I got lots of reasons for it.
So you think he's going with the winner, David? He's projecting that Cornyn will win, and so he's going to go with the winner, not necessarily the most America First or MAGA candidate? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's exactly right.
Well, I think Cornyn, you mean not necessarily the winner, but I think you, at least if I'm extrapolating from the text earlier, that what your point was that Cornyn perhaps presents a tougher challenge to the Democrat.
Right. In other words, Tallarico is deceptively good. Deceptively is the key word. But he's really good. He can win that Senate seat. And if you put Paxton against Tallarico, I think Democrats will win it. If you put Cornyn against Tallarico, it becomes different, because Cornyn spends a lot of money, plus he's going to get some of Wesley Hunt's votes there, probably 8 or 9% of it, compared to Paxton to get 3 or 4% of it. That'll put Cornyn over the top. So I think Trump will they'll try to convince Trump to say, Cornyn's your best shot to keep that Senate seat against Tallarico. If it was Jasmine Crockett, different ball game. Then it's Jasmine Crockett versus Paxton, and it's base on base, if you will. But with Tallarico appealing to some of those center left folks or even center right folks, I'm telling you, I mean, Tallarico is a guy that reminds me of a cross between Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. The folksiness of Bill Clinton, the religious language he's using, like Barack Obama, your brother's keeper. You put all that together, that is a dangerous mix for Republicans. He has a real shot at winning that Senate seat. So Paxton would probably lose to Tallarico, and that's the pitch to Trump.
Well, David,
I don't know if I believe it, David. We might have a difference of opinion there. Go ahead, T. Wouldn't be the first time.
I was just going to say, so this is a big story. The midterm elections technically underway now after Tuesday's primaries in Texas, North Carolina, and Arkansas. President Trump is celebrating at least 35 Trump-endorsed candidates who won their primaries and are advancing to November's general election. He posted a slew of congratulations on Truth Social, as you see here on your screen. However, 47 did not endorse any candidate in Texas's closely watched Republican Senate primary between incumbent John Cornyn, former State Attorney General Ken Paxton, and Congressman Wesley Hunt. That race is now headed to a runoff, and you just heard David project who he thinks the president will ultimately endorse. Meantime, the State Department is feverishly working to bring Americans who are in the Middle East home. The department is facilitating charter flights from the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan as security conditions allow. In the past several days, more than 9,000 Americans have safely returned home from that region. In fact, just moments ago, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth addressing these flights.
Over Tehran, flying over Iran, flying over their capital, flying over the IRGC, Iranian leaders looking up and seeing only U.S. and Israeli air power every minute of every day until we decide it's over. And Iran will be able to do nothing about it. B-2s, B-52s, B-1s, Predator drones, fighters controlling the skies.
The secretary also saying that C-19 flights are being used to ferry Americans out of harm's way, that if there's space on those flights, Americans are being able to get those flights and get out of harm's way. But again, also saying that the toll on Iran has been pretty serious as the Navy has been taken out, as many of the rockets that are being fired in the arsenal that Iran has have been taken out as well. Congress's investigation into Jeffrey Epstein expanding as Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is volunteering to testify before the House Oversight Committee. In a statement announcing the upcoming hearing, Committee Chairman James Comer writes, quote, "I commend his demonstrated commitment to transparency and appreciate his willingness to engage with the committee. So far, there's no date for Lutnick's sit down, and he hasn't been accused of any wrongdoing in connection to the Epstein crimes." That's a quick check of your headlines. Now, let's get a quick check of your forecast with Weather Nation meteorologist Adrian Hernandez. Adrian, good morning.
Good morning, Terrance. And yeah, we're going to talk about some more severe weather out across places of the South and Central Plains. You know, we've started meteorological spring, and severe weather season has already gotten up to a pretty hefty start. Here's a hometown forecast from Hutto, Texas, from Lone Star Lady on Getter, and a perfect place to talk about some of these severe weather chances because we got a real active forecast for Hutto, Texas. If you guys don't know, that's in South Central Texas as well. This is a live sweep of our Viper radar. We had a severe weather warning just east of Tulsa there along I-44 out to Joplin and Springfield. We're seeing a lot of these showers and thunderstorms already starting to flare up. We'll deal with this one system as it moves across the east. Now, the big concern I'm going to have will be towards the end of the work week. You see this really large trough of low pressure sweeping across the country. We'll get a large line of showers and thunderstorms, which have a decent chance of becoming severe on us, especially as we go into Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, we'll deal with some more rainfall across places like Texas, all across the Lone Star State going into this weekend. So at least for today, here's that severe weather outlook. It's going to be a slight risk, so it's level 2 out of 5 risk. risk across ports of the South and Central Plains. Going into Thursday, that dry line's going to be sparking a lot of those severe weather chances across portions of northern Texas and Oklahoma. And then Friday, the biggest concern will be this enhanced risk right here. It'll encompass several major cities like OKC, Kansas City, as well as Tulsa included in this outlook. So if you are living in this area going into Friday, make sure you already have your severe weather plans. Of course, following us here in Weather Nation, we're going to keep you guys updated all the way throughout. So Terrance, that's a better look at what's going on across the lower 48. We got lots and lots of severe weather in store for our folks down south.
All right. Thanks so much, Adrian. Appreciate you keeping us updated.
You got it.
All right. Let's get you over to David Brody now. David, good morning.
Hey, good morning, T. Bates. All right, Israeli forces have hit a high-level meeting of Iran's Supreme Council right as officials were counting votes to choose a successor to the late Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. So much for black smoke. Israel's defense minister has declared that whoever replaces slain Iranian Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, will be a target if they continue Tehran's threats against Israel, the United States, or regional allies. More than 40 of Iran's top leaders have been eliminated since the joint U.S.-Israeli campaign began, with over 1,000 enemy fighters killed across Iran. This also comes as Israeli troops enter southern Lebanon as the war expands to include the Iran-backed Hezbollah group. And of course, we have all that updated information that we gave you at the top of the show with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Join us now with analysis as former Trump foreign policy advisor and author of the book Iran, An Imperialist Republic and U.S. Policy. That would be Waleed Faris. So, Waleed, good morning to you. So many moving parts here. I don't quite know where to begin. Take it anywhere you want. I mean, it feels like a regional war is a real possibility. It seems like that's where we're heading. Saudi Arabia, if they get involved, this could go sideways quickly, Waleed.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me. It is already a regional war. It's the first chapter of a regional war. It all depends on what would our partners, Arab partners, what would Turkey do? What would many countries do? And also, what would China and Russia do? We know that Russia is now very busy in Ukraine. China could be busy sending equipment to the regime, the Islamic regime of Iran. The problem is, would after 2 or 3 days, they still have airports and airfields to land this equipment? So it's going very fast. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth described this morning in a stunning way what we are actually doing on the ground, and it could be summarized very quickly. They have no more Navy, or let's say 90% of the Navy is already gone, which means something very important. The regime, the remnants of that regime, are not able to operate in the Persian Gulf, and therefore will not be able to attack that lifeline, that economic line that goes from the Persian Gulf all the way to the Mediterranean and elsewhere. So that already is very important. Second, Pete Hegseth said that the Air Force, the Iranian Air Force, which is supplied by the Russians and some old Tomcats planes are there, is being depleted. And then he of course said that we control the skies. So once you control the water and the skies, you've done most of it. And the elimination of leadership, that is always a shock. Israel has started this in the 12-day war, and we know what they've done with Hezbollah. But now Israel and the United States, nothing can stop them. What remains on the ground is who will seize the territory. So we all know, and I conclude here, that the only place right now where we can contemplate an action is in Iranian Kurdistan. There have been phone calls between our president and the leaders of the Peshmerga in Iraqi Kurdistan, but there have been a lot of interactions between the two Kurdistans. It is very possible that the allies, I call them the allies, the U.S. and Israel, will be doing the bombardment from the air, and they started 48 hours ago, and Kurdish forces will go. The limitation is that Kurdish forces are not expected to fight outside Kurdish land.
Waleed, you've laid out the success of the mission so far and still the challenges that remain in terms of leadership and who ultimately will continue to move the country forward, move Iran forward. But I think the big question that many of us have, particularly following what we just heard from Secretary Hegseth, is he said basically the mission will be done when we're finished. But what is the metric? That's a question we've been asking here all morning. How do we determine when we're finished, when this mission is complete? Do you have any idea? Or from your perspective, what would a metric of completion of this war be?
I have slight ideas and I have my own opinion, so we're going to compose one. Number one, the administration will make sure that no anti-aircraft missile, no missile, nothing strategic, nothing that can shell Israel or the Gulf or other places, and now Turkey is part of it. So technically speaking, anything the regime would still have in terms of can harm other people. Second, I think where we don't know exactly is who will replace the regime. Because it looks like there is an idea in Washington to negotiate with some dissidents or some high-ranking officers in the militias, meaning the Pasdaran, IRGC, and the Basij, to tell them, if you take down that regime, we're talking about a coup. If you do a coup against that regime, we will give you amnesty, and then we will see. But the biggest question, the transition. Who will lead the transition? That's the transition from the Khomeini regime to a new Iranian regime. That is the biggest question. I don't think the administration is in a hurry to do that right now.
Yeah. Well, Waleed, we appreciate your time. Before you go, 30 seconds. What about U.S. involvement after all of this? In other words, okay, so they're done 4 to 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, I don't know, whatever it takes. Let's say they get out. But what about the then what? I mean, you're just going to kind of leave it. I mean, there's got to be, so now what part of it? What do you think about U.S. involvement regarding that?
The best part is going to be then. We know our president, he's a super entrepreneur. That's why I'm mentioning a transitional government, because with that government, we're going to have the best deals. Forget about the Iran nuclear deal of the Obama era. We're going to have Iran becoming our UAE or our, Saudi Arabia, our ally, and much better because Iran's size, Iran's culture is very, very different and would partner with us. That will be the good news when it happens.
Well, we'll see what the price tag is on that, because there's going to be a supplemental bill, and MAGA's not going to be happy at all with more money going over there, not just with the war effort, but if there's going to be any rebuilding and all of that. We'll see. Waleed Phares, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Waleed.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so think about this. In 26, that'd be 2006, I don't know what I'm talking about, $20,000 equaled roughly 33 ounces of gold at spot price. At today's prices, those 33 ounces would be worth about $165,000. Whoa. Smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals, and that's why you need to consider buying gold from our friends at the Birch Gold Group. For thousands of years, gold has been a store of wealth. Ask King Pharaoh. And today, it's a crucial part of any balanced strategy. Even better, Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or a 401k into a tax-sheltered retirement account in gold. And we know Trump loves gold. That had nothing to do with it. But anyhow, that's a good point to remember. Here's what you do. You text America to the number 989898 to receive your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. They've got an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, tens of thousands of happy customers. So let Birch Gold help you diversify with gold. That is called peace of mind. Once again, text America to 989898. Again, text America to, let's say it together, everybody, 989898 today. Extra points if you can add all of that up and give me the sum of all of those numbers. More American Sunrise after the break. Stay with us.
This holiday season, Real America's Voice is proud to partner with our friends at Angel Studios for a special giveaway you won't want to miss. As they launch season 2 of their hit series Homestead, we're giving you the chance to win an exclusive Homestead hat absolutely free. Everyone who becomes an Angel Guild member using our link is automatically entered to the contest. When you join, you're supporting meaningful pro-American storytelling, and you're supporting RAV at the same time. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, or text the word RAVAngel to 75802. After you scan or text, make sure you follow the steps provided. When you complete the steps and join the Angel Guild, you'll be automatically entered to win that exclusive Homestead hat, a perfect holiday gift for yourself or someone you love.
Be one of the first 50 people to sign up and win a hat automatically. Hurry while there's still time.
So scan that QR code or text RAVAngel to 75802. Happy holidays from all of us at RAV.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic? and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and
That's Cincinnati, Ohio, and there's that flash dance music again. What a feeling. Welcome back, everybody, to American Sunrise. I'm David Brody. All right, let's get to Washington. Hey, that's where I'm at, too, but we're not in the same place. Neil McCabe is joining us right now with Real America's Voice. We know you very well, Neil. Good to see you, our national political reporter. So what'd you make of Hegseth's comments? There's a lot to unpack, for sure.
Yeah, Dave, I'll just sort of back up and say, you know, when I look at media or messaging, it's not the first thing I ask is right. It's like, it's not what is said. It is why it is said. And so I think what this press conference was meant to do is reboot the narrative so that they could get their message out, because there's a lot of stuff spinning around. There was very tough hearings and press conferences yesterday. I was at the press conference with Elbridge Colby, and you know the Democrats are talking about moving the goalposts. What are time? This is a 4-day war, David, and they're still talking about. They were describing it as an endless war, and so I think there's a lot of stuff out there. And Hegseth and General Kane just needed to reset the narrative and then move forward.
You think they did that today, Neil?
I think they did. I think that, Hegseth name-checked Paul Bremer, who we remember as being in charge of the Iraqi Reconstruction Authority, right? And, remember, Hegseth deployed as a junior infantry officer with Rakisson of the 101st Airborne Division, and that was a very kinetic deployment where those guys were out every night. They were in firefights. He had to, there were boot ceremonies as he lost buddies. It's, this is a different kind of cat. He's been to Harvard, he's been to Princeton, but he's also been to war. And so I think we need to take stock of his evaluation of the situation. And then you have this guy, Kane, right, who's not only, an accomplished pilot, but much of his career was spent either at the CIA or being a liaison with the CIA. So he has both the combat and intelligence component. And, imagine if that was Mark Milley, please. It's, I'm feeling good 4 days in. I don't know how I'll feel 4 months in, but 4 days in, I'm okay, David.
No, that's a great point. And also this idea of a potential, well, we're already in a regional war, but if Saudi Arabia gets involved, my goodness, then we've got some other issues here. So go ahead, Neil. We got about 20 seconds.
I'll just say this, that, Iran is forcing people to choose sides. Yep. And I don't think they expected the Gulf states and Saudi Arabia to choose the U.S. and Israel. And when we talk about this conflict 20 years from now, we're going to talk about it as the moment that Trump reset the access to the United States, Gulf states, and Israel against radical Islam, David.
Oh, I think that's such a great point. I always thought the Abraham Accords were the main course. No, actually, now looking at it, it looks like that's the appetizer. And now we're starting to see what the main course might be come post-Abraham Accords. Neil McCabe, great to have you with us. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, back in 2 minutes. I'm hungry, by the way, now that I've talked about food. Back in a minute.
This holiday season, Real America's Voice is proud to partner with our friends at Angel Studios for a special giveaway you won't want to miss. As they launch season 2 of their hit series Homestead, we're giving you the chance to win an exclusive Homestead hat absolutely free. Everyone who becomes an Angel Guild member using our link is automatically entered to the contest. When you join, you're supporting meaningful pro-American storytelling, and you're supporting RAV at the same time. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, or text the word RAV Angel to 75802. After you scan or text, make sure you follow the steps provided. When you complete the steps and join the Angel Guild, you'll be automatically entered to win that exclusive Homestead hat, a perfect holiday gift for yourself or someone you love.
Be one of the first 50 people to sign up and win a hat automatically. Hurry while there's still time.
So scan that QR code or text RAV Angel to 75802. Happy holidays from all of us at RAV.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and
live look at the best city in the entire country, only because it's my hometown, Chicago, Illinois. You're looking at the banks of Lake Michigan. By the way, Chicago does have beaches. A lot of people don't realize that we do have beaches there along Lake Michigan, and it's always fun in Chicago in the summertime. Whole nother issue, though. I'll get into that some other time. We're getting you ready for the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. It's set to ring here in just a few minutes. Here's a quick look at pre-market trading. As you can see, the Dow not looking so hot, but the rest of our board looking pretty good at this point. Again, we'll take you to New York for the opening bell of the New York Stock Exchange and let you know how this day of trading is ultimately looking here in just a few minutes. First, though, let's get you over to Dr. Gina. Dr. G, good morning. Not only does Chicago have great beaches, we also have the best pizza in the country as well, but we won't argue that. I'll just let you go into your segment.
The second best, Terrance. You're absolutely right. That's right after the thin pizza that comes right out of St. Louis, Missouri, Terrance. But I do love that Gino's East Chicago style pizza. Thanks, T. All right. I love when I get the last word like that, and I can just be like, oh, sorry, get him off screen. I'm winning on the pizza battle right now. Much of the country is still grappling with cold weather following a number of storms affecting the Northeast and other regions. It's so bitter cold, in fact, everywhere, that I thought this week would be a great week to talk about how cold weather has impact on your skin, your lips, your hair, the different ingredients and products. It's getting so confusing out there. We've got peptides. We've got things you can't pronounce. We've got stem cells. So much that I'm going straight to the expert. That's what I'm going to do. Joining us now with what you need to know about my very favorite product. This is actually my favorite product out there. Nobody's going to tell you any different, even if you do a deep dive on this. That is Exoceuticals. The co-founder is Dr. Robin L. Smith. So this product, I want to tell you guys, is the best thing in the world. It is not formulated just by somebody who decided to make some sort of skincare. This is formulated by somebody who has studied this at the cellular level, and we're going to talk about it right now. I use every bit of this every single day. So when you guys write me and text me all the time and ask me what products I use, that's the product I use. So for better or for worse, Robin. No, but Robin, I do think it's so important to talk about all of these new terms we're hearing. We hear dialogue about exosomes. We hear a lot about stem cells. these peptides, those are all big words right now in the industry. But it's not about the space and the business. It's really about how that affects skin. And you've studied this at the deepest levels. Tell us about it.
Absolutely. I mean, we have to focus on the cellular level to get long-term change. And as we get older, we just don't have the capacity to repair and restore and rejuvenate. We get, as we're older, we just have the less ability to do this. So it's important to help supplement with things like peptides or exosomes and other ingredients that will help the skin barrier really be protected, to help build more collagen, elastin, and help our skin look healthier, look younger, and really just be prepared to hit the insults and stay youthful.
So a lot of companies now, you were the very first one to talk about this in a skincare product. And I had already had a conversation. I have a guy who actually makes contacts for me that I put in my eyes that are made of human embryonic or umbilical stem cells, yes. And it takes away my dry eye problem. It has just cured it. So I knew immediately when you used that word, I'm like, wait, what? Because I wasn't hearing anyone else talk about it, but people are bandwagoning, people are jumping on board. But it's really important where you source these stem cells. We want to know, first of all, that they're humanely, most of us out there are pro-life. We want to know that they're humanely sourced. We want to know that they are cleanly sourced, because there's a whole process. I've been in the laboratory looking at how things are sourced and preserved and packaged, and that's all so important. But we want to know, I'm just going to say it, Robin, that they don't come from China, because a lot of them do.
Absolutely. I think it's very important that you get things from the United States, and even if you do, that they're testing. You're looking for any source that's human. You want to be sure there's no communicable diseases. You want to be sure you're not going to get a spike protein from COVID. You want to be sure there's not prions. So we need to make sure that that source material is tested for safety, and that you know what's in them. Those exosomes are messengers. They signal to our cells to do things, and they bring ingredients and instructions. So you need to know what those instructions are. So you really need to do the work and the science to understand what it is that you're giving somebody and how you can impact the cells.
Yeah, and let's talk nitty gritty here. Okay. We've got wrinkles, we've got dark spots, we've got dry patches, the things that happen to you as you age. I'm going to have a talk with God about it when I get there. But tell us exactly what happens to those kinds of things with these products, because as I told you this morning, I'm like, I use mine under my makeup as a primer. Is that okay? And you're like, yes, that's fine. Tell us what happens with the wrinkles, with the dark spots, with the dry spots. Go on.
Absolutely. Well, so when those cells get damaged, you're making melanin, which gets the dark spots. You're having more inflammation. When you get hit by the UV light, you're having all of these inflammatory markers, and you're not making the collagen. Every year you make 1% less collagen, elastin, and hyaluronic acid. So these are messengers that go to the cell at the cellular level and send a signal: make more collagen, make more hyaluronic acid, reduce inflammation, and do the things that you can get the regeneration, the repair of the cells, which happens naturally, but we don't have the ability to do it like we did when we were younger.
Absolutely. All right, we have a QR code there for you at the bottom of the screen that will give you 25% off, and tell people where they can find the products.
Well, exoceuticals.com is the website, and it's a great way to attack those wrinkles and really help the barrier of the skin. And as you said, it's freezing out, so that dries the skin. So we need to bring the humidity into the skin and have it stay there. And all of these ingredients with the exosomes will help short-term and long-term.
You're amazing. The product is amazing. It's my absolute favorite. I 1,000% endorse it. Robin, thank you for being here. Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Robin L. Smith. All right, listen, we are going to head out to Terrance in Denver. He has the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. It's cold there. He needs exoceuticals as well. This is sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
You hear the applause. The bell is going to ring. Markets opening right now on this Wednesday of trading, and we'll shortly get an idea of how the markets are looking on this day as the trading gets underway. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, the opening bell right there on cue. The markets are officially open now, and let's take a quick look at how things are looking. Not so hot. There at the top, you can see the Dow is down. The rest of our board generally pretty good. The bottom, I think that's crude oil, that is down, which is actually generally good news for us. Hopefully that means that our oil prices will be down, and particularly given the situation in Iran, that could cause some uncertainty uncertainty for the oil markets, but in general, not a bad way, to open this day of trading. We'll, of course, continue to update you throughout the day here on Real America's Voice. Still to come on American Sunrise, though, Democrat James Tallarico defeats rival Jasmine Crockett in the Texas Senate primary on the Democrat side. Republican candidates are headed to a runoff, though. We'll talk about the fallout from last night's primary election after the break.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
Always followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer. In the moments I'm afraid, there's a whisper in the wind and a story in the sky. When I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light. Follow the light.
For those who love great animated classics like The Lion King and Prince of Egypt, David is an awe-inspiring animated musical that depicts David as a spirited boy who fought lions, giants, and even betrayal, depicting how one boy's faith could lead him to be king of Israel. David will be released in theaters just in time for Christmas on December 19th, but your family can get a head start by watching the prequel to the film, Young David, which is streaming exclusively right now on Angel. It's perfect for the entire family and has memorable music. So once you join the Angel Guild, you can start watching Young David right now and prepare the fam for the David film in theaters in December. And by joining the Guild, you'll guarantee 2 free tickets to see it. And it's a great value. Let's be honest, going to the movies isn't all that cheap. But if you're a member of the Angel Guild, not only do you get those 2 free tickets to David, but you'll now have access to every single film or TV series on Angel at your convenience.
Us this morning. We invite you to hop on in our conversation on YouTube, Getter, and Rumble. It is time now to take the political pulse of America. Here's the beat today. Texas Democrats have chosen their Senate nominee. State Representative James Tallarico has emerged victorious, defeating Jasmine Crockett in a contest that laid bare the Democrat Party's deep divide over how to take on President Trump and win a solid red state. Tallarico, a self-described seminarian with a politics of love, now heads in. My brother, I'm sorry, I shouldn't do commentary at this point. This is just a read, Gina, just read it. Anyway, he heads into a general election fight against either Senator John Cornyn or AG Ken Paxton. After a record primary turnout and accusations flying on both sides, this race is shaping up to be one of the most watched in the country. For discussion, we're going to bring in David Brody and Terrance Bates. All right, D-Bro, here we go.
Go.
Here we go. All right.
You start.
Here's why it has to be Ken Paxton.
Wait. All right, go ahead. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm not saying I'm not taking. Please, MAGA land, please listen to me. I'm not taking the John Cornyn position. I'm not defending John Cornyn. I'm not endorsing. Not that I can. I'm not endorsing John Cornyn. Okay, please go ahead now.
It's all about turnout. It's all about turnout. MAGA, David, I love you, but I feel like you go back sometimes to that kind of rhino-y mindset of the.
Oh, that's fighting words.
Wow.
Now listen, I didn't say you.
That's tough to take.
No. Let me
That's hard to
finish
take.
my sentence, please, gentlemen. That mindset, it's just a mindset. My husband does it too, and obviously married 36 years, so it's working out. But here's the thing. We don't need a moderate to beat a centrist centrist Democrat. First of all, I don't believe that Tallarico is a centrist in any way, shape, or form, and I can prove that all day long. And I think that comes out in the general race because right now we've all been very involved in primaries, which is another reason why I think Ken Paxton has to be the candidate, because a lot of MAGA is not going to get out of bed to go vote for Cornyn. They're just not the same way. Texas is a state of coalitions. They vote in coalitions. Look at the massive primary turnout. You can't tell me that's not still going to turn out. It's that all of Cornyn's votes are going to go over to Paxton. Not all of Paxton's votes are going to get up on general election day to go vote for somebody that they're not excited about, because that's not who MAGA is. All right, I'll shut up.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. First of all, I'm not a rhino. Not
I didn't mean you.
No. I mean,
I'm never going to live that one down, am I?
No, I don't think you will, actually. No, you're not going to live that one down. No, you're not suggesting that, I know. But at the same time, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to be fully transparent because we're always transparent. I didn't really like that reference being even. I never have had a rhino mentality. And please, everybody out there listening to this, understand what I'm trying to say. I'm giving you political analysis. Whether or not you like it or not, oh well, not my problem. You take it or leave it.
Yeah.
But it's political analysis. It's not rhino. It's not an ideological position I'm taking. Please understand that. And that's why I took offense to the rhino thing. It has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, that's okay.
That's okay. And I get that you're doing political analysis. I mean, it is analysis that I hear coming from the rhinos. Not that you're a rhino, but that Karl Rove is, and that's what he's saying.
Look, I've been in this town for a long time, and I'm telling you what is, and it's very hard to change the way this town operates. And I'm telling you, I saw it with Todd Aiken in Missouri. You know all about Todd Aiken, right? Listen, this is Ken Paxton, according to the establishment GOP, is the new Todd Aiken. I'm not saying that. I'm giving you the analysis of people saying that. Please understand. My point is that when Todd Aiken was the nominee in Missouri for the Senate, the Mitch McConnells and all the establishment rhinos, they're rhinos of the world, said that Todd Aiken was going to blow the general election and Republicans were going to lose that seat. And guess what happened? Republicans blew the election and Republicans lost the seat. That's what the establishment GOP is saying about Ken Paxton. Not me.
I hear you. I agree with you. I hear you. Okay. I agree with you. That is what happened to Todd Aiken, and that was tragic and awful. And God rest his soul. He was a mentor to my husband and a very good friend of our family. The times are different, David. We've had a President Trump since then. President Trump has had a very different kind of a past than someone like a Todd Aiken. Re-elected President Trump. And I don't think that those things matter the way they did at that time. I think MAGA has found itself and has a stronger identity than it's ever had before. And MAGA knows who it is. And MAGA will turn out for Ken Paxton. I don't think they'll turn out for Cornyn. And that's why I really hope you're wrong in that you're guessing that Donald Trump might endorse Cornyn, but he might.
I'm just saying that MAGA, if you're upset at this situation, I'm telling you, you should be upset. If President Trump endorses Cornyn, that's where you got to be upset. Don't blame the political analyst. I'm just telling you what I think he's going to do. That's my point. So I don't know. I'm a little defensive on that because, I'm just providing political analysis. Anyhow, okay.
It's okay. You know what? We're all going to have to sometimes agree to disagree. That's what these conversations are about. But I certainly wasn't referencing you as a rhino. And if it came off that way, I would never do that. I know you way better than that.
Real quick, but what are we disagreeing about? Just real quick, because I just want to be clear. Are you saying, I'm saying that I think President Trump's going to endorse Cornyn. Are you saying you don't think he's going to endorse Cornyn?
I'm saying he shouldn't.
I know that. I'm not, time out. I'm not saying he should endorse Cornyn. I'm not saying that. I think he should endorse Paxton. Let me be clear about that. Okay, but see, we're trying to separate ideology from political analysis. Yeah, we agree. I mean, Trump and Paxton are fully aligned, much more aligned, and he should ideologically endorse Paxton. I don't think he will, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Got you.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Makes a lot of sense.
All right. All right, turning now to the war in Iran. The Israeli military recently struck a meeting of Iran's Supreme Council where officials gathered to choose a successor to the Ayatollah, who's, by the way, in hell right now. The strike hit just south of Tehran as Iran continued to target Israeli civilian population centers. This comes as Prime Minister Netanyahu warns the conflict will take some time. That was a direct quote, though not years. Joining us now with analysis is former Netanyahu advisor, senior contributing editor for JNS.org, Ruthie Bloom. Ruthie, good morning. And my understanding is you just got out of a bomb shelter. Welcome to life in Israel, not just now, but, recently it's been like that for a while. Tell us what is going on there currently and what your assessment is of everything under the sun, because there's just so much. Go ahead.
Okay, and apropos what you just said about the difference between analysis and opinion, I'm going to give you opinionated analysis. And if that's okay. So what's going on here right now is that Israelis are in a very cheerful mood because finally this is happening. Iran is the head of the octopus. We've been saying it. Prime Minister Netanyahu has been saying this for years. Israel has been fighting a seven-front war since October 7th, 2023, and long before, by the way, okay? But that was, an outbreak of a real traumatic event. And since then, we've been playing whack-a-mole, north, south, in every direction, and within Israel, by the way, in Judea and Samaria, which some people call the West Bank. Right now, so what is happening is this amazing cooperation and coordination between the U.S. and Israeli militaries, and it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Ruthie, about an hour and 15 minutes ago or so, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth made the delineation between the current operation in Iran and how the forever war in Iraq basically went off. So I would like your opinionated analysis on this, but from an Israeli perspective. Here is a soundbite, and then I'd like your response or reaction from an Israeli perspective. Listen.
Thus far, Operation Epic Fury has delivered twice the air power of shock and awe of Iraq in 2003, minus Paul Bremer and the nation building. The campaign has 7 times the intensity of Israel's previous operations against Iran during the 12-day war, 7 times. And as President Trump said, more and larger waves are coming. We are just getting started. We are accelerating, not decelerating. Iran's capabilities are evaporating by the hour, while American strength grows fiercer, smarter, and utterly dominant. More bombers and more fighters are arriving just today.
So, Ruthie, as you listen to that, from an Israeli perspective, what is the metric of victory? When would this be over, and when would the Israeli population be satisfied with this operation having been completed?
Well, it's impossible to know exactly when it'll be over. And as Secretary Hegseth said in a press conference yesterday to one of the reporters, you think I'm going to answer a question and let the enemy hear it, and something along those lines. I will say one thing, though, about the forever war issue. In fairness to the United States for going into that forever war, and in fairness to Israel, and Israel has been vilified for pushing the U.S. into war with Iraq, but in fact, Israel never wanted Iraq. Israel has said all along that Iran should be the target, all along. In fairness, Americans, never like to go to war, and also never study the enemy properly, and certainly not the jihadist Islamist enemy. And now the difference is that President Trump, in my opinion, I think that President Trump finally, he's got these gut instincts. A lot of people make fun of him because he doesn't know how to articulate his positions as well as some pundits do on his behalf. But he has the most healthy gut instincts I've ever seen, and he's putting them to use. That combined with Prime Minister Netanyahu's savvy and experience, I think is a killer combo to, you'll excuse the pun.
Ruthie, yeah, that's actually a great way of looking at it. And we really appreciate your time. Stay safe, obviously. So we really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Good to see you, though.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ruthie. Hey, let's talk Medicare for a second, because a lot of folks aren't getting the full story. Most Medicare agents push Medicare Advantage plans even when they're not right for you. So why is that? Well, it's because that's where the money is for them. Oh, what a shock. The money is involved. But seniors, though, here's the problem. They're paying the price. And that's what makes Chapter different. They walk you through Original Medicare, Medigap, Medicare Advantage, and Part D with the pros and the cons all laid out so you can make the right call for your health needs. Hey, I'm 61. I'll be getting in line for this. By the way, there's a woman named Donna, and she said her Chapter advisor walked her through every option and explained everything in a way that she could actually understand. Plus, they saved her thousands of dollars. They basically dumbed it down, which I love. If you're on Medicare or will be soon, this is what you do. You call 814-CHAPTER to learn about enrollment options and find ways to save. It is free, it's quick. They can review those options, all of them, in under 20 minutes. Most people wish they had called sooner. All right, still to come here on American Sunrise. 2 U.S. mosques under scrutiny today, honoring Iran's fallen dictator and echoing regime propaganda. We'll unpack the details and show you the locations after the break.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
Followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer. In the moments I'm afraid, there's a whisper in the wind and a story in the sky. When I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light. Follow the light.
For those who love great animated classics like The Lion King and Prince of Egypt, David is an awe-inspiring animated musical that depicts David as a spirited boy who fought lions, giants, and even betrayal, depicting how one boy's faith could lead him to be king of Israel. David will be released in theaters just in time for Christmas on December 19th, but your family can get a head start by watching the prequel to the film, Young David, which is streaming exclusively right now on Angel. It's perfect for the entire family and has memorable music. So once you join the Angel Guild, you can start watching Young David right now and prepare the fam for the David film in theaters in December. And by joining the Guild, you'll guarantee 2 free tickets to see it. And it's a great value. Let's be honest, going to the movies isn't all that cheap. But if you're a member of the Angel Guild, not only do you get those 2 free tickets to David, but you'll now have access to every single film or TV series on Angel at your convenience.
Let's spill some tea.
Let's Spill Some Tea is sponsored by Artillery Tea Company, the veteran-owned patriotic tea brand delivering premium whole leaf tea in biodegradable sachets that brew twice as strong. Patriots, if you love great tea on your terms, check out the Patriots Brew Club for automatic shipments that you control. You can cancel or swap flavors anytime with no commitments. You'll also get free shipping on every order, tiered discounts up to 20% off, and free milestone rewards along the way. Brew strong, stay patriotic. Head to artillerytco.com right now and click Join the Patriots Brew Club to get started. It is time now to spill some tea, and in the cup today, radical Islam within our borders. 2 U.S.-based mosques are facing scrutiny after both held public events praising Ayatollah Ali Khamenei just days after U.S. and Israeli forces took out the brutal Iranian dictator. Mosques in Virginia and Michigan, both previously scrutinized for ties to Tehran, held Ramadan gatherings eulogizing the regime leader. One even promoted him as, quote, our leader. Imams at the Michigan Center went further, calling America's strike illegal, attacking President Trump and pushing unverified claims spread by Iranian state media. Take a look at how this imam in Michigan eulogized the Ayatollah.
I know that you love to end this life this way, to be remembered forever and ever. That أشقى الأشقياء يعني قتلت بأيادي أشقى الأشقياء في العالم. That is an honor. That is a pleasure to be in paradise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Wow. To discuss more, let's bring in Dr. Gina, Terrance Bates, and David Brody. David, this is really, really concerning to see. My family, actually, my hometown is in Michigan, really close by in this area, and it's terrifying to me that my family is there. I mean, these sleeper cells are definitely a thing throughout the United States, and if people are eulogizing the Ayatollah, I mean, this is unbelievable, David.
Yeah, and it's been happening for a while, a long time, a few decades, or at least a couple, I'd say a decade or two for sure. It's been around. And Dearborn is like ground zero for all of this. They've got, what is it, the call to prayer, whatever they call it. I forgot what it's literally like in the streets there. You hear it like, is it 5 times a day? Something along those lines. It's insane. Those city council meetings are just like out of control in Dearborn, Michigan, in terms of the ideology coming from there. So there's all of that. But look, I mean, you know, we always talk about what's going on in Iran, but this is linked to it, right? I mean, this is, if you don't think, and I know you all do think this, but if people out there don't think there are Iranian sleeper cells in places like Michigan and other places around the country, then you're kidding yourselves. And so the point is, when you take out the Ayatollah and you look for regime change in Iran, and I'm not suggesting it's going to be easy, but that at least is sending a message and trying to maybe stop the disconnect between what's happening in Iran at the regime level that filters on down to the Iranian sleeper cells somehow, some way, T-Bates.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing here is another example of Islamic extremism on the streets of the United States, right here at home, that's impacting us. And even if you broaden the scope, David and Dr. Gina, this is an example of how these Islamists aren't willing to assimilate to American culture. They're here in our country. They're taking advantage of our services. Some may even be here in terms of those sleeper cells that David mentioned, but they don't want to assimilate, and they are holding high those values that are counter-American and that America is now countering quite literally in Iran, Dr. Gina.
At what point do we call this treason, and at what point do we prosecute therein? To me, I just don't understand. You know, we come down on conservatives for debating ideologies. We come down on conservatives for making statements that are true, like boys are not girls and girls are not boys. And you can literally be penalized in our legal system for saying that. And yet they can say this. I just don't understand. There's such a bizarre hypocrisy happening right now in our culture that is so targeting conservatives, and I'm going to say it, Christians. That is completely unjust, and our entire judiciary needs to be revamped.
Yeah, full agreement there, Gina. All right, still to come on American Sunrise, our own Dr. Gina is standing by with the top story that she's keeping her eye on today. The one to watch is next after the break. Don't miss it.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
There's a light I've always followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer. In the moments I'm afraid, There's a whisper in the wind and a story in the sky. When I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light. Follow the light.
For those who love great animated classics like The Lion King and Prince of Egypt, David is an awe-inspiring animated musical that depicts David as a spirited boy who fought lions, giants, and even betrayal, depicting how one boy's faith could lead him to be king of Israel. David will be released in theaters just in time for Christmas on December 19th, but your family can get a head start by watching the prequel to the film, Young David, which is streaming exclusively right now on Angel. It's perfect for the entire family and has memorable music. So once you join the Angel Guild, you can start watching Young David right now and prepare the fam for the David film in theaters in December. And by joining the Guild, you'll guarantee 2 free tickets to see it. And it's a great value. Let's be honest, going to the movies isn't all that cheap. But if you're a member of the Angel Guild, not only do you get those 2 free tickets to David, but you'll now have access to every single film or TV series on Angel at your convenience.
All right, welcome back to American Sunrise. I'm Dr. G. Thanks so much for being with us today. It is time now for the one to watch, and here's what I'm keeping my eye on today. Footage from former President Bill Clinton's deposition before lawmakers last week officially released for the public. I can't stop watching. I don't know why. It includes one jaw-dropping moment, among many, actually. But this one, during the hearing, part of the congressional probe into Jeffrey Epstein, South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace asked the former president why Epstein would say he, quote, likes them young. Here's what that looked like.
Witnesses who testified in the Epstein cases that Epstein said, you, quote, like them young. Why would Epstein say that about you?
Are you asking his opinion? You're asking him to think about why Mr. Epstein would say something about him.
Why would Epstein say that about
she's asking you to try to be in Mr. Epstein's mind and guess at what Mr. Epstein would have thought about it.
Clinton likes them young, referring to girls.
First of all, that's not true.
What's not true?
That I have any interest in underage.
I didn't say underage. I said young.
But it's still not true.
She actually asked as a follow-up question something along the lines, I don't know if you guys watched the whole thing. Gosh, I'm a junkie, I realize sometimes. She actually she goes, are interns young?
Right.
She said that. I'm like, wow, she went there. Oh, I'm following this because there's still a lot of unanswered questions. David Brody, and this is just, I don't know, this is sport for me. I don't do football or any of that anymore. I just watch things like this, and it's very entertaining.
I yield the floor to the man in the blue suit. I think you were chomping at